What's up, hotheads and political junkies?
Yo.
You're watching Cannabis Culture News Live. I'm Jeremiah Vandermeer, editor of Cannabis Culture Magazine and Pot TV. On the couch, John Burfello, one of the organizers of the Vancouver Green Rush Financial Conference. Is that one of your? I think you were. We could call you an organizer, right?
Yeah, I was an organizer.
You were definitely
100%.
And a little further down the couch there, slinking off to the corner,
Of
Dana
course.
Larson.
Hello. Am I on camera?
The camera's there, Dana.
We
Yes,
made
you're on
sure
camera.
to fit you in. So.
You're there.
We're all
Dana
here.
Larson, the founding editor of Cannabis Culture Magazine, and an activist.
The reason why
extraordinaire.
we're all here today
Yeah, get rid of this if you want to. So, we have a big show for you guys today. Global Marijuana March. We're going to play some videos from that. Also, we're going to talk about the Green Rush Financial Conference because this is the Green Rush show. The Green Rush is here, and already we're seeing a ton of businesses interested in investing their money. This conference was a really eye-opener for me in a lot of ways. I didn't realize just how much interest there really is already there.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we brought a lot of the people that were really involved and have been involved in the industry as it was breaking. We had the talkers speak. As you know, we're going to play different parts through here, but we brought a lot of the cannabis activists and the people that know in the industry, and we merged them with people who want to know about the industry that were very involved in the mining industries, big money industries, and what they're realizing, what I said, the real gold grows every day. Cannabis is the gold. It's better than any mineral, any other plant on this earth. And they're really waking up to that because gold you can wear. We look at it, it's really got no value, and I say that in my talk and stuff like that, and it's really coming down to it's just a whole new revolution, whole new industry. I mean, what do we got? We got a food, we got a fuel, we got a fiber, we got a medicine, we got everything from one plant. So I mean, the world is waking up, and this conference here, from what I understand, has made every major newspaper. It's in the Wall Street Journal. It's gone so media. It's really taking a better look at this whole industry, and I think we're waking the world up. Finally, people are starting to see, and it's just been this big roll over the last years from Mark to Dana to Cannabis. Everybody's been so involved, and it's just great to see that we're actually starting to get legitimacy behind cannabis. Because I mean, yeah, man. It's a great event.
You guys did great work. It was pretty awesome. It's funny because I seem to have all the most interesting pot activists on my show just regularly anyways. They're just kind of like always hanging around.
Yeah.
Because you're like a regular on this show, for those who don't know, all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because you had been talking to me about doing we've been talking about doing some sort of a panel, and you've had this idea for a while.
Long time.
Yeah, a long time. And so that was kind of the genesis, I guess, of this. Is that right?
Yeah,
that's
pretty
so
much.
funny. Yeah.
I put the ideas in the proper places, and then we started talking more about it, and they're like, hey, I can bring this. I said, well, I can get these people. I'm like, well, yeah. And you know what? And then we put it together in a month and a half. Less than a month and a half, we put this together, and it was a great event, and it was a rush to get it going, and it's just involved with everybody. Yeah, you know what? Like I said, the real behind this, I remember talking about this with Michelle Rainey, and she was a lot of my inspiration for what happened there on that day. Totally.
Cool, man. Well, we're gonna play video of the media coverage from CBC, CTV of the event. We're also going to play several of the speeches from the event on the show today, some of the choice ones. We're going to play your speech as well.
Nice. I haven't even seen it yet. Apparently I was okay. Pretty good.
I thought you did a great speech. That's why I wanted to play it today. So we'll get to all that. Plus, we're going to play footage from the Global Marijuana March here in Vancouver. We'll also play some video footage of the Toronto Marijuana March and the big marijuana march they had in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Wow, I didn't get to see any of those.
150,000 people came out to their Global Marijuana March, according to the organizers there.
Yeah, I was headed to ours, and I couldn't make it.
You couldn't make it to Argentina?
No, I couldn't make it to Argentina. I was really trying. I got caught up in the maze. So.
I know you were planning all year to go to this big Argentina thing. But
it was actually the last minute thought, like a last minute. I was like, it's 12.
Talking to the microphone. yeah, that's funny. It was definitely wasn't 150,000 people at the one we had here in Vancouver. It was more like 150 to 300 people probably. Maybe it was more. Maybe it was like 300.
Well, you know what? With the weather, like I was out in the valley, it was pouring with rain. It was miserable, and I honestly got in my truck, started driving, forgot my weed at home, turned around, went home, lied down, woke up at 6 o'clock.
Yes.
I was beat. You know what? I just missed it, and then I got on of course watched you guys, and I was like, damn.
What about Dana? Dana, I know you're playing video games over there.
What's going on? The Global Marijuana
Candy
March?
Crush or something?
Yeah, what's up?
just
What you asked about the Global March?
We were talking about the Global Marijuana March, yeah, and I was
for most years I go out to Toronto and I go out there for that one, but the last couple of times I've been here and it was awesome. The crowd seems small at the art gallery, but then once you start marching, it seems like we're suddenly a lot bigger. I don't know if people join in from the street or what happens, but it was good. We get the word out. People are always kind of curious what's going on because they're like, "Is it 420 again, or what's happening?" Right? But
it's true.
But no, it was a good day. It was a bit rainy, but that didn't stop us from having a good event out here. And it's nice to know what's happening all around the world and that there's all kinds of marijuana things. And it's one of the big trifecta of marijuana events in Vancouver. Yes. And we're all getting together again for Cannabis Canada Day in a few weeks.
July 1st. That's coming up soon. I guess we got to really start to get that together because it's going to be another big one. There's people that want to get their booths booked already. There's been all kinds of interest in it so far, so it's going to be a big one. And then this is going to be the last event we ever have at the Vancouver Art Gallery, or at least that we have for the next couple of years, due to construction. I think if we do move it to the place that we want to, the Vancouver Convention Center,
yes,
that'll be the
that's where we're going to go.
We're going to stay there.
Pretty much 99% assured.
It's been agreed by all the key board members.
So the city's got to agree to it too.
Not the city. Well, they don't necessarily have to agree to it. Well, here's the thing about the Vancouver Convention Center. It's owned by the federal government, and the city has already told us that it's private property, but I asked them who owns it, and she said, well, it's owned by the federal government. And I said, well, how is it private? And she's like, well, and didn't really say anything.
You're supposed to book it if you want to use it. We'll see how it goes. It'd be nice if we can book it and use it and follow the rules, but if we do got to go somewhere, and there's not a lot of spots. And
I've
that's
never
like
seen
a good
it
one.
busy there ever.
It's a good spot, and I would love to do it there. It's a beautiful view. It's got tons of room. The booths would work great. It's very accessible. It's a short walking distance from the art gallery, and it's right downtown, and I think it'd be a fabulous... Yeah, it's very accessible, just as accessible as the art gallery is, if not more so, and much more room for us to really gather properly. And the Vancouver 420, it's crowded out by the scope of the place we're in. A bigger space, we could get 30, 40, 50,000 people or more down there, I bet, as long as we had the space for it. People will come.
Yep, no, I agree. It's really a nice spot.
I totally agree. I love that idea, guys. I know everybody's been bouncing back about it, and now hearing this, which is cool.
Yeah. Well, we went down and actually scouted out the spot. Dana and David Mamalevine and I.
I'm going to interrupt you for the 1 minute warning.
1 minute warning.
1 minute warning, and it could even be within 30-second minute warning. Just saying. Okay.
Better have a vapor bag loaded out there.
I got my My Little Pony joint right there.
Some My Little Pony there.
My Little Pony.
Can I take a little sniff?
But definitely, I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a great event.
It smells like it's going to be a great event next year, too.
It's going to be a great event next year.
That smells good.
It's got some goodness. And
Lord.
happy 420 here in the
happy
West Coast.
Happy 420.
Woohoo!
Okay. Oh, you know what? Duchess isn't here. Now, I did see Mel Hempseed stumble into the room here with Stoner Advisory, and I was going to offer you guys a bong rip, but I don't have a bong to offer. If one of you fine ladies would go upstairs to my office and grab Duchess, make sure you grab her right in the right place, though.
Dane's puffing and playing video games for 420. We're trying to get
we
everybody
need a
in for
good
the
weed
420.
video game.
There you go.
Like an iPhone app.
So Dana's going to make a Sensible BC app video game.
Yeah, it could be like
They like that?
Super Mario
He's
Dana.
on it right now, apparently. He's
He breaks bricks of hash with his head.
So one thing about that the Green Rush conference is the amount of business cards I picked up, and truly, these are the amount of LPs, and there's 16 of them that were here.
Right.
Some of them in application, other ones are trying to go for applications and all the different stuff. So it was quite interesting the amount of people that are going for licenses here in Canada.
Yeah, it's not all just LPs.
And I think it's something that me and Dan were just talking about is there's going to be more licensed producers than there are patients.
More producers than patients, yeah, probably.
It's like 420 where there's more dealers than there are people that show up. It's going to be like that with the LPs.
It really is like that.
Hey, that's good. That'll lead to some kind of price war, I got to figure, in the next year or two. I think that's what we're going to be seeing. It may not be good for all the LPs because
we'll be oversaturating the market
winnow
with weed.
things out. But I mean, if their business model is only based on selling $5 to $10 a gram weed, they're going to have a hard time. But if they're able to either have the money to outlast or to, I don't know, it's just my speculation, right? But I got to figure with a lot of LPs out there and maybe a bottleneck of doctors not supporting it, there could be a lot of weed piling up, and that's probably be good for consumers in the long run.
Have to agree with you.
Well, I keep saying, like, right now, Health Canada is basically saying it's a common prescription from your doctor. And there's one thing that they did do is they educated 1,600 doctors across Canada a couple years ago on how to properly prescribe cannabis. So I really see there's going to be a big change, and the doctors are going to start more jumping on board because these licensed producers are going to probably start giving them vacations and golf trips, right? So, I mean, it's just a matter of time before it's just going to be able to walk into your doctor and say, hey, you know what? I got a headache and I want to get some weed for it. And really, do we really need that? Can we just go purchase it? Like we can go purchase alcohol? Or cigarettes.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, there's just so much more to it. But at the same time, at least I can still grow my own, and that's the main concern right now is supporting the coalition. That's what I'm about, supporting Sensible BC and supporting the right to be able to legally do what I do every day, and that's puff hard and grow my own medicine.
Hell yeah.
All
right. Well, you know what we should do first is play one of these videos, maybe the CBC video first off about the Green Rush Conference. They did a little piece, and then we'll play the CTV video after that, and then we'll get into actually playing some of the speeches from the conference.
Sweet, right on.
Yeah. We're gonna watch yours. We're gonna watch Chris Perry from Stockhouse, which is he's a guy watching all the kind of stock news when it comes to the medical marijuana scene and stuff. Yeah. He had some informative stuff to say. We're gonna watch Bubbleman's speech. Mark Richardson. He gave a great speech, kind of an overview of the industry and hemp and a bunch of stuff, which was really cool.
Be a little closer to your mic.
A little closer. Oh.
Because I'm like right on top of it.
Turn the gain up a little bit, maybe or something. Oh, okay. All right. Well, and also, I was going to play one other one. Whose else was I going to play here? Oh, I was going to play, what is his actual, I'm missing it here. The fellow from Tweed, where is he here? Is he on the list here, John?
Of course he's on the list. He's on the top.
Second row.
Right up there. Bruce.
There he is. I don't know. You show me where he is. I think maybe I have an old one or something.
I don't know if he actually has the updated
I got an older
version.
one.
Bruce Linton is in the top, right beside Mr. Harry Barr.
There he is,
Beside
top
that is
row.
Jody Emery.
Bruce
And then
Linton.
we have John Conroy and
Yes, Bruce
and we have
Linton.
Adriana
Man,
Herman
it
from
was
the
such
hemp
a
industry.
massive.
It was
how many people total?
We had 26 people in total
26.
talk.
Wow.
And I think we filled in a couple more at the end. We had Dr. Joy Davies gave a great talk on the overview of the provincial system, what she's trying to do, and of course it was just you're gonna play some stuff. We're gonna watch some videos. We're gonna talk more about it, and I'm sure some people in the chat, if they want to know anything, ask, because you got some good people here that would like to discuss it. Dana is playing video games, but he is listening. He's a multitasker. He could do a lot of things. Said he's very focused.
Okay, Mario, so is that CBC? Do you want to
yeah.
maybe bring that up?
Anytime.
Ready to go? All right, throw the
Here we
CBC
go.
thing on, and we'll come back and talk in a bit. All right, you're giving me the joint, not the
Ashtray.
ashtray.
British Columbia played a big role in the gold rush, and now there's a rush to a new industry. Medical marijuana is the talk of the town and subject of a conference here this week. And as Farah Morelli tells us, there's no shortage of people wanting to get in on what's being called the green rush.
It looks like an ordinary business conference in Vancouver. Suits, ties, and handshakes. But the delegates here are learning how to make money from legal marijuana. These investors are calling it the green rush.
If you've ever made a gold discovery in the middle of nowhere, if you ever made a platinum discovery that changed the whole environment, we've done that. That's a rush.
Harry Barr would know. He's a mining industry mogul, and his company NextGen now wants to provide venture capital to those in the medical pot business.
We're on the start of a dawn of a new industry.
Inside, an impressive trade show of hemp products, marijuana producers, and alternative medicine practitioners, and no shortage of would-be investors paying attention.
The smart investor is going to get on into this business now.
Amid all the buzz and excitement, some stone-cold reality.
I want them to just remember it's not legal yet.
Jody Emery hopes the so-called green rush will help push the case for green legalization.
All they know is that it's an upcoming industry that will be legal at some point, depending depending on when the government changes, and they want to be ready to make that money on that windfall.
As of April 1st, the rules changed on who can grow medical marijuana. Only authorized commercial companies can legally grow pot. In BC, 14,137 people have a license to grow medical marijuana. Thanks to a recent court injunction, they can continue to grow, for now, but no new licenses are being issued. There are 5 licensed commercial producers in British Columbia and 168 pending applications for more. Despite the high, some say investors need to be careful.
You've got all these companies that are, announcing that they're going to become marijuana deals, and they're hiring consultants and doctors and scientists. And it's like, well, where's your qualification to actually create a viable medical marijuana business?
Whether it's real gold or fool's gold remains to be seen. Farah Morali, CBC News, Vancouver.
A marijuana dispensary on Commercial Drive is now home to a one-of-a-kind vending machine. It's just like those that sell pop or candy, except this machine sells pot. It's prepackaged and sealed, making it quick and easy for anyone in need of medical marijuana. It's located inside the BC Pain Society office. Anyone wanting to make a purchase first has to show their membership, which certifies their need for medical marijuana.
All right. I love those pot vending machines, too.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, they have the ones down iBox. They have auto have an auto box too. There's a few of them coming out now.
Yeah. I gotta get a little thing here, a window myself. I can't see what's going on here. Yeah, those vending machines, I bet those are gonna catch on. They'll be everywhere too.
They'll start picking up and stuff like that. But as you can see, the conference, there was a lot of a lot of different people that were involved with it, and yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah,
totally, for sure.
We have the CTV video as well, Marius.
Okay.
Let's cue that one up too.
We made a lot of news. The conference was very well covered.
It was. You said the Wall
media-wise.
Street Journal covered it as well.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff there. I know we're gonna see some stuff pop out here pretty soon.
Yeah, this really is catching on. Any of the new angles to do with marijuana, the journalists just love them. So. I think it's just going to continue
the industrial hemp
to
it is so huge
grow an interest as well.
Than anything. I mean, it's so versatile. We can use it, as we all know, it's like preaching to the choir, right? So.
Yeah, everybody wants a piece of this. Everybody knows the amount of money there is to be made, and once it's legitimized, everybody's going to be breaking their backs to get to be part of it. And I keep saying this, you can weedify any business. You know, we have Mega Ill Pizza in the city. You can have any kind of restaurant. You can basically take any store and make it a weed store. I want to open a weed strip club and hotel. That's what I want to open.
Jeremiah's got to go.
That would be awesome.
Weed?
Yeah. You can smoke weed in the club. You have a hotel, big, nice, fancy hotel. You can smoke weed in the hotel and shit. I don't know if you want to mix the two, but
no,
I just want
think
both of those things to exist somewhere.
I think we all agree with that.
The weed hotel?
The weed hotel.
The
And
weed
you can have a weed
stripper
strip
hotel.
club. That's what I want. Here, Marius.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Jeremiah wants.
That was,
Well, okay, but how are you making money off people? Like in a bar or a strip joint,
Well,
you're making money selling alcohol. And the girls
can sell weed.
If you can sell weed, yeah.
Eventually, when it's legal, of course.
So the way we look at it,
That would be popular.
Yeah. Or you just,
there we go.
people could bring their own, I guess. That's better than nothing.
You can't bring your own alcohol into a bar, so.
I'd let them bring their own weed if they
So we have
weren't able to buy it.
some
from
kind
us.
of.
Yeah.
I think the next conference we're gonna have to see if we can vaporize inside the Trading Convention Center. We can in Toronto.
Really?
Well, we did for
I did
TY,
see,
didn't we?
there were people actually doing that.
We have a vapor lounge at Treating Yourself Expo 2-3 years in a row inside the building.
Oh, no.
That would
Okay.
be kind of cool if we
Yeah, I
could
think
pull that off.
some people are complaining about it being frozen. Some people are saying it's not frozen. Some people are saying it is frozen.
We'll just play the video and then we go from there.
There we go. I'll play it for you here, Marius.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, we'll throw the CTV one on, Marius.
Alrighty.
CTV coverage.
From vending machines to board games, you could definitely call it a cash crop.
Yes, as Peter Granger reports, one of the hottest investments these days is medical marijuana.
Stuck in legal limbo it may be, but the medical marijuana business is booming in BC. Metro Vancouver dispensaries, all 30 of them, have never been busier. There's pot pizzas being served in town. Canada's first marijuana vending machine is in operation. There's even a pot board game for sale. All signs that there's green in them thar hills.
I believe in this industry. I want it to be legal so we can all make a ton of money off of it.
Now comes the Green Rush Conference, bringing activists, licensed pot producers, and interested investors together for the first time.
We see huge growth potential. There's going to be a lot of capital and private equity involved in financing the companies that lead the charge out of the gate.
BC's investment community is here because of the huge returns that have been generated in places like Washington State and Colorado, where marijuana has been legalized. The corporate interest here could push politicians closer to legalization. For years, John Berfalo bred his own strains of weed in his garage to deal with pain from an industrial accident. Now he's in a suit, selling his services as an advisor.
You're going to start seeing the stock market change. You're going to see oil and pharma and textiles slowly drop, and all those big money guys are going to move everything over to cannabis.
The irony of the green rush isn't lost on pot activist Jody Emery, whose husband Mark is finishing a 5-year sentence for selling seeds. When Emery gets out, the thorny landscape that landed him in jail could be lush and green. Peter Granger, CTV News, Vancouver. Peter Granger,
We're back.
News, Vancouver.
Katie's here in her Cheech and Chong shirt.
Nice shirt.
That is a pretty dope shirt. Where'd you get that? Where? That is a pretty dope shirt. Where'd you get that? Oh, that's a good store. That's where I got my Wu-Tang shirt, coincidentally. Yeah. That's where I got my Wu-Tang shirt. Nice score. Yeah, good coverage on the mainstream media there, Johnny. And you in a suit, even.
Yeah, I put on a suit. And that's something that you have to do once in a while.
Never
so
seen
you
that
got
happen before.
A little bit of representation, but they said, what was the news broadcast out there? Investors gather for media conference. I think there's one of them that says no hippies were seen, and the posting on my Facebook is that they got pictures of Mark and myself.
No hippies.
And stuff. We're hippies.
What, Marius, what were you going to say?
Well, I know once you get caught once in a suit on camera, I mean, it haunts your career forever. So
that's right. You can't wear that suit once; they'll play it in the media.
I was gonna wear it today. Actually, I was gonna wear the blazer. I'll wear it in Toronto. June 26th.
Might as well go for broke.
June 26th will be the next conference. I'll be having to wear a suit then. So maybe you guys will all come and wear suits with me.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be fun? I'll see you there. Everybody wear a suit. And make sure you have, I cut my hair, sorry. I used to have long hair. It was in the way, actually.
Yeah.
It was a pain in the ass. So I cut it. It's just what happens.
No, everything seems to be
like Dana,
fine.
he used to have long hair too, guaranteed. Dana, you ever have long hair? I used to have hair. Dana used to have long hair.
Down to his ankles. You were like ZZ Top with the beard too. Yeah, no, you did have long hair.
Is there a reason
and
why
David
you keep taking
who
that?
just sat down on the couch, also had long hair.
There he did.
I did at one time have long hair. I also had a mohawk. I had dreads. I've gone through every combination.
David.
Mohawk, dreads, and his long hair was like pink or red. What do you got there, David?
I got this herbal medicine chart from the 60s.
Herbal medicine chart from the 60s. It's gigantic. Can you...
you got to come from behind us.
Bring
right
that
here.
over here?
Right here. Come over and right in behind.
Yeah.
Along the top, I don't know if you can see this.
Wow.
But along the top, they have medical conditions. And along the bottom, they have different herbs. And so this one shows which herbs are good for which conditions.
That is craziness.
Yeah, it's massive.
I'd love to get a copy of that.
Sir? The triangles are just where the herb and the meat kind of meet in efficacy.
Can you? But
Is Cannabis on there, or opium, or any other good ones? Or?
The good ones?
Oh, and Bob High's back here too behind the wall. Bob, come and show what you got too. You got a painting here. Oh man, that's awesome. It looks like a chihuahua.
It's called Jump Buffy Jump.
What is it called?
It's a prototype for a sculpture called Jump Buffy Jump.
It looks like somebody just kicked it in the ass. Yeah.
I like the technique.
Yeah, he looks very frightened.
Yes. That's great, Bob. Good psychedelic artwork. And David looks confused there. He's just trying to read it. See, if you made that thing has to be that size because there's so many small words on it. You couldn't read them if it was any smaller.
That's right.
You can't make a small copy of it.
Valerian and hops are on it, but those are the only psychoactives I've found. It's mostly just your garden herbs.
Cool, David. Well, people can come take a look at that at the Vancouver Herb Museum on the second floor of the BCMP building here, 307 West Hastings.
I'm going to post it on my Facebook, too.
There you go. And I was going to ask Dave to come on today to talk about the Global Marijuana March, but it's okay. Well, yeah, you should, Dave.
He's
if you
like,
want to come
sure.
on. But you know what? We're doing our Green Rush conference talk right now, so maybe Dave was at the Green Rush conference, and actually, Dave, I'm going to play footage of you talking to the Tweed guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know how you grilled him, and then he said that he would go along with your scheme?
And then he said afterwards that he wouldn't go along with my scheme.
He did.
He resisted.
Oh, I thought you said...
after?
Oh, okay, well, we'll talk to you about that when we get you on here.
All right.
Okay. Cool. All right. So, now I think we should play John's speech.
Yeah, I want
Johnny
to.
B's speech.
I
Now,
want my
Marius, the
speech.
way I've set this
My speech
thing
might
up,
be long.
Mel, can you do me a favor? Can you
Hi, Mel.
grab my laptop case right there? It's got my show notes in it. Because my arms aren't so long.
He didn't
That's
even
right.
get here until 3:30.
Yeah, it's
do
true.
everything for him.
It's true. That's right. I'm just the talent. I just show up. You guys are supposed to puff my pillows for me, peel me a banana or some grapes maybe, fan me with a palm frond.
He's puffing on the joint by himself.
Just keep
doesn't want to
stepping
share
on
it.
people on your way up here.
That's right.
You're never coming down.
That's
I was
right.
just listening.
Okay,
for
I
the
was
joint.
getting my show notes here because I was going to tell you where the actual John speech is. So in the first video of the two videos I sent you, the one that says Gold Rush 1, it's at 1650.
What are we smoking here? This is something quite tasty.
That is got
Okay.
a lot of hash in it. It's a
1650
strain.
and
Hash
Gold
joint.
It's a strain called Got a Lot of Hash.
This
Yeah,
has got
1650.
hash in this joint. Here we go.
Yeah.
Are we playing?
Not yet. We're working.
No, we're not playing yet.
Oh,
So what's
okay.
in this joint?
This has got a lot of hash.
A lot of hash.
A lot of hash. I saw it. He dumped it on the ground. I was like,
What kind of hash?
it's called
A variety.
We
called
got
a lot.
a lot of hash. It's got some different flavors, different tones. I
Yeah.
would taste there's a lot of hash in there.
Most of Dana's joints got a lot of hash. in
Dana does like hash just like we all do.
It makes them better.
It does, doesn't it?
Everything goes better with this.
Everything's better
Everything.
with hash.
I mean, I was
Okay,
putting
we're
dry
good to go
sift
here.
hash on my pizza
Okay.
at home.
Hold on
That's
a
my
second.
new little thing. Yeah, like the second grade. It's like good for edibles. Little sprinkle. It's great. Keep more endocannabinoids. We've been talking about it. Mark or Dr. David Allen is you got to feed your endocannabinoid system, and that's what we got to really start learning. And what I keep hearing is that
ash joint.
Ash joint.
Cut
Wait,
Marius out.
we cut out Mario, so it was definitely here. You go.
He's off cam.
He's off cam.
Uh,
Why don't
we
we have
need
a
a Marius
Marius
cam.
cam?
So
just so
mean
he
to
can
me.
Flow the-
We're not mean to Marius. We're dishing him on
That's
the
true.
hash.
Always cutting him out of weed. Okay, well, John, this
Yeah.
is your speech we're going to play here. So
Can I
maybe
hear it?
you can intro the fellow who introed you. Now, he was the
I don't know who he was.
Harry Barr.
Oh, Mr. Harry Barr.
Mr. Harry Barr.
Yeah, Mr. Harry Barr. He is actually the. Harry. I've had some good
Every
meetings
time
with
I hear
Harry. and-
anybody with the first name Harry, if your last name is anything related to,
Well, you
anything
know-
phallic at all. Yeah, Harry. Harry Barr has a Harry Barr. I know, it's mean to say those
I see
things.
Harry with a lot of passion, a lot of direction. He really looking at hemp, and he talks a lot about his father and then his family, and he's drawing such an interest to it because he was in the mining industry for so long. And I
Right.
started talking to him, and that says the real gold grows, right? You know that. And I
And now
think
he
just
was-
over time, it's just changing his thought. And of course, you know what? Everybody's talking about the green rush, and there's a lot of interest around it. Not a lot at the same time. There's a lot of talk about different companies dumping and pumping and this and that, but I see a different direction with NextGen. I see them building an industry and an educational kind of thing, and then getting into the analytical and taking a better look at probably CBDs and stuff like that, and looking at the real medicine to help. It's about
because NextGen paid for the whole conference essentially, right? They're the ones who put it all on. Yeah,
and they paid for it, but they did have sponsors like some of the bigger ones was Cannabis Incorporated, BC Cannabis Incorporated. They wanted to be in there and stuff like that. There were paid sponsors that wanted to be involved to get their message across. So
yeah,
I mean, and that comes with the territory, and that's the whole thing. But they're getting some good education out there, and they're learning from us because now I was talking with the guys there from BC and talking with them. They really are understanding from our perspectives of patients and stuff like that, what would be better off for their companies in order to get us better medication.
Well, it was evident to me that all of the people there really knew that they had to sort of kiss ass to the medical community, or at least they were really at least paying. I don't know if it's lip service. Maybe they'll do what they say, but they were definitely playing up the whole medical side of things, telling everybody that they're willing to, even David Malmo-Levine got on the microphone and said, would the guys at Tweed be willing to support some of David's ideas of what would be good, like maybe a constitutional challenge or a bunch of different stuff, and they said they'd be all over it. So David says maybe
on and off camera are two different things.
That's
though,
right. Well,
always,
here's some
right?
resistance. But again, you could tell that they were really at least paying the lip service to these concepts.
Well, Tweed said that they were picking up my product and they were all on board and they would love it for their standardized dispensing and stuff like that. But everybody there wanted a piece of all of us. They approached Mark. They approached everybody out there. Oh, there's lots of promises, and that's this whole thing about this whole market too, because there are a lot of people in that industry that, well, you know what.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. You can order it in a Medtainer or something.
Oh, you know what? There's all kinds of. I have now a new product where we have a child-resistant lid, so it meets their standardized dispensing. But at the same time, I mean,
I know I couldn't get into that one.
I know. Yeah, it's just we're having fun with it,
I was
right?
trying to break it.
But there was just so many different people there that with this whole stock markets and stuff like that, everybody's looking for an idea and everybody's looking a way of making money. All these LPs, like I said, I got a stack of LP cards, and then I got a stack of people who are interested. I mean, look at all the people that are trying to get licenses and stuff like that. I mean, these are all the people looking for investment money, want to start companies, want to start
and
clothing
shops.
It wasn't just LPs. It wasn't just LPs. There's people who want to get into vaporizer lounges and they want to get into that, and everybody get behind it.
And the hemp industry and everything was here too.
Exactly. So there was such a wide variety, and even something like, in our Toronto conference, this is like Mark's doing his Mega LD. These are people that want to fun and get into these industries because they are big money people. They are looking for a different way of making money, and they do see an opportunity of making it with cannabis, but they do see a bigger thing is that it is $1 trillion industry, and that would be the alternative medicine industry.
Yeah.
It's just not just about cannabis. It's about all other different herbs that help us with our different conditions.
Exactly.
And it is $1 trillion industry, and that's basically in the side market. We haven't even stepped into the legal market of alternative health, and that's really the big part of what we're going to hopefully push on the second conference.
Yeah.
Is the alternative health aspects behind this, plus the industrial hemp end of it, and then the public and trading side of it, and basically what's going on in the industry today. So we'll be really looking forward to the next one on June 26th in Toronto.
Yep, that's the next big conference, so that's very cool. Hopefully it'll get as much attention. Okay, Marius, throw this video on. This is John Burfello, or one of the organizers of the Green Rush Financial Conference, speaking at the conference.
Wants to talk about this? Either one of them. Love to talk about it. Now we're going to introduce Mr. John Burfello. Mr. Burfello and I met not long ago. He's from a valley, the Fraser Valley. I'm from the Ottawa Valley. We're both valley boys. And there's an old line in the valley. You can take the boy from the valley, but you can't take the valley from the boy. This gentleman has a very, very interesting story to tell. And he's very good at what he does, and he's dedicated his life after a bad fall to this industry. John Burfello.
Open it up with some green. That's the crust falling out. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Green Rush Financial Conference. It's nice to see you all here bright and early. Something Harry likes. He likes to be up right at the crack of dawn. Normally get a few emails around 5:30, followed by a telephone call. He's so excited about this Green Rush conference and this Green Rush that's happening right now. My name is John Burfello, and I'm NextGen's medical advisor.
I'm also a CEO of a company called MedTainer Canada. I have a booth over here, booth 27. If you'd like to know more about it, please come by and take a look. I'm currently working on becoming the staple product for standardized cannabis dispensing here in Canada with licensed producers. Right now, I'm currently working as a legal medical cannabis educator / advocate. It's my back to work program with WorkSafe BC. Everybody knows the Workmen's Compensation Board. So, it's quite a good title. I fought for that title, and over years, they accepted me as my job title and what I do. I work at a company called Pacific Northwest Garden Supplies here in Surrey, also Green Planet Nutrients. And there, since 2009, I've been educating basically customers who are patients that were coming in, teaching them about strain Pacifics for different conditions, learning about their growing techniques, and basically really helping them understand cannabis as a medicine. And of course, back in the days, we had 30 pages of paperwork to fill out, so I was also involved in helping a lot of the patients fill out their paperwork and advise doctors. Before that, I volunteered at a local Compassion Club society from 2006 until 2009, called the Green Cross Society of BC. I was the president's right-hand man. I helped set up the education. I worked with the members' reps. I helped write a lot of stuff what everybody knows about the 4 Pillar projects with Don McPherson back in the days. We worked with Van Du and a few other companies, organizations I should say, on harm reduction and how cannabis was helping so many people. Different strains for different pains. I started working with Dr. Paul Hornby, who's in the audience right now, and he has an analytical lab, so I was really starting to learn how brownies and cookies and converted forms of THC decarboxylated were helping myself so much. So, kind of ask why I volunteered for the last 3 years, or why I'm really involved in this business. It really came a reality to me back in 2005. I was at work, woke up bright and early one morning, and I slipped and I fell. And I fell 28 feet and I suffered multiple injuries. I have a video here I'd like you guys to watch so you can better understand who I am, what I'm about. So for no further ado, please watch my story. There's stuff on the scissor lift when I first got on there and I tripped backwards on it. And that's basically the last thing I remember. And I woke up in the hospital with all my family around me a couple days later.
His family didn't think he was going to survive. He'd just shattered his body, his skull was fractured, his neck was broken in 4 places. He'd smashed his arm, wrist, hip, ankle. Basically everything on his left side had been destroyed.
When I stepped backwards and I fell, it's either I fell and I hit my head on the scissor lift when I fell backwards, fracturing my skull, knocking myself out, and then free falling 20 feet onto my left side.
Dr. Mark Matashek at Royal Columbian Hospital put him back together again. It was a long and painful process. John says it took him a long time to come to terms with the full extent and the severity of his injuries. He says he was numb to what had really happened to him because he was loaded with drugs designed to kill the pain.
But I thought everything was fine because I was taking so much pharma. And when I woke up, the pain was excruciating. They gave me a bunch of drugs and I was like, oh, things are great. Woohoo, I can be able to do this, right? I started chasing pain. They give you your painkillers, you push your button. The last 3-4 hours, all of a sudden it's getting worse. And you're pushing that button again real quick. In order for me to function, I needed the drugs in order to move.
John left the hospital gobbling down 32 pills a day, drugs that were costing a fortune, $1,400 a month.
I was a walking zombie and my friends around me, I lost a lot of friends because I wasn't that person. I started reading what was wrong with me, what these drugs are doing to me, how I can start leading a better quality life.
Then, one day he paid a visit to the BC Compassion Club where he tried medical marijuana as a form of pain management. He was amazed with the results.
I started reading more and more about how this was helping me. And slowly started weaning myself off of pharma and taking amino acids, natural supplements, converted forms of THC. I have creams for my knees when they were getting really bad. And over time, I just stopped using the pharma. My psychologist and everybody around me said, wow, night and day.
Today, John sees his doctor once a year to renew his medical marijuana license, which costs him about $500 a year. A license that has allowed him to kick the pharmaceutical habit.
in acute stages of pain, I don't think cannabis could help me with that excruciating pain that I was in. Pharma was needed. But when dealing with lifelong care with traumatic pain or injury, pharma is not something you use for your whole life. Now I'm balanced. Wow. That's what a lot of people say to me once they really have seen my video and hear my story. What really happened to me? A lot of people don't understand the extent of my injuries, and most have never known I was hurt so bad. I walk around perfectly normal. I feel pretty good. I'm able to control my pain. The reason why people don't really know is because I don't use pharmaceutical drugs. I use cannabis-based medicines. I use natural forms of THC with amino acids to help me with my pain controls every day. Alternative medicines, the way of the future. It's all about the cannabinoids. THC, delta tetrahydrocannabinol, CBN, cannabinol, CBD, cannabidiol. It's the most abundant cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. This is what's changing the world right now. Everybody's talking about CBD. Yep, CBD, cannabidiol. And right now, it's going to be the newest medicine. It's going to be the biggest industry that we're looking at. Everybody's talking about it. Sanjay Gupta, he's doubling down on cannabis-based medicines. Like Harry said, he kept seeing that video over and over for the last 3 months, so everybody knows exactly what we're talking about. And it really came to after a young girl. She was 4 years old. Her name was Charlotte. And cannabis was saving her life. Just like a girl here in Vancouver named Haley. Both girls were very young. Haley was 14, Charlotte was 4. Both suffered from severe epilepsy and seizure disorder. And cannabis was saving their lives, not the pharmaceuticals. And like Charlotte's mom said, the medicine didn't stop her from seizing. But the medicine, the drugs, the pharmaceutical drugs, did stop Charlotte's heart a few times. So after Charlotte was having up to 300 plus seizures a week, they figured she wasn't going to make it, so they tried cannabis for the first time. And wow, it changed everything. They went and met a man named Josh Stanley. And I'm pretty sure everybody's heard about the Stanley brothers now, because they've created a CBD strain. It's 0.05% THC and 17% CBD. Now that strain saving Charlotte's life. So hence they called that strain Charlotte's Web. Pretty cool. A CBD strain that's saving a young girl's life. I mean, we're all about children, right? So it's important. Now Haley, at the age of 14, when she was diagnosed and said she wouldn't make it to the age of 16, is now 20 years old, and she has a strain called Haley's Comet. It's another high CBD strain that is saving her life. Haley's able to grow her own medicine, just like myself, and I helped Haley get her license back in 2008 when I was volunteering at the Green Cross Society and working with Dr. Paul Hormy. Haley and people like myself are able to grow their own medicine here in Canada. We have a legal system. It's called the MMAR, and we've had it since 2001. The Medical Marijuana Access Regulations. You can either buy from Health Canada or you can grow your own. Well, there's a new legal system upon us right now, and it's got a lot of patients scared, a lot of people are worried. I'm excited because I'm seeing standardized medicine being able to probably come around the corner. So what's really happening with this industry is, well, I have another video I'd like you guys to watch, and it'll tell you what's going on. Please have a look.
So pure, so good, and so relaxing. My name is John Buffalo. I grow medicinal cannabis for my pain control. I have a medical garden. Well, this here is a room that I put a lot of pride into, and When I bought my house, I built my research facility for able to grow my medicine because of my injuries, something that will never go away. I live in chronic pain, and back in 2005, I suffered an injury at work. I fell 28 feet onto concrete and discovered converted forms of THC and using cannabis for pain control, eating it, and then working with different doctors and scientists, able to came up with strains that work for me, and I grow my own medicine.
Right now, people have the right to grow marijuana for medicinal purposes, and the government wants to take that right away from them. The federal court has said before the federal government can move in and cut down their plants, there needs to be a trial and the legal issues explored and the court rule on whether those people do have that right or whether the federal government can, in fact, say no. You cannot personally grow marijuana in Canada for your own medicine. You must buy it from one of the companies that we have licensed to produce it.
It upset me when they said that I had to destroy it and put it out in Canada. Well, I was saving up all kinds of stuff. I was going to extract. They said I had to destroy all my plant matter, so I was going to extract all the trichomes, get all the real medicine, and get rid of this. There. You want to come inspect it? I'll give it to you. But I'm going to take my medicine out of it first.
So Health Canada has admitted that they don't support medical marijuana. They don't want to provide access. They don't want to let people grow it or use it in any way whatsoever. But they're being forced to do it by the courts. And I think that with the years ahead, we're going to continue to see Health Canada and the Harper government and the police try to keep every marijuana plant illegal. But because of the changing tides south of the border and everywhere, really, I think it's only a matter of time before they back off on this, let patients grow their own, let regular people grow their own in a safe way, and also let people buy it from a commercial provider safely to the mail or in storefronts.
So the freezer itself is the cage, which is one of the layers of security around something like this, and which is what gives us our level 10 security. It's a typical standard bank type vault. In this vault, we can store, according to our security level, which is about 15,000 kilos of finished product. After it goes through the entire production and QA and packaging process, this is where all of the finished products in the bottles, containers that will eventually go to patients and will be stored. That, I think, is one of the biggest benefits of the program, is delivering that to people so they don't have to worry anymore about this, not knowing what you're consuming. And when you go out and you buy anything, any product in the store, you're buying anything in a modern context, you're going to know that that is something that has been produced and it's been distributed and it's been created according to standards. The Food Safety Act or whatever acts are in place now, the only thing that hasn't been is cannabis. So, and you can't do that until you legitimize it. And that's I think, the big exciting thing about the MMPR is the ability to do that and actually bring it into the mainstream and make it a product that can be bought just like anything else.
So that means the patients who have had a favorite strain of marijuana that they have been growing themselves, they can give that to a company that will then produce that marijuana strain for them. So it's going to be very interesting to see how complex the market becomes, how many strains are offered, and how many companies ultimately are registered and regulated. There's more than a dozen already, so we're really going to see a real burgeoning of that market.
Well, as you can hear and see in this video, there's a new legal cannabis industry here in Canada. There's new rules in regards to medical marijuana. We have licensed producers. Access has been granted for patients that require medical cannabis. And what's happening is Health Canada has gotten out of the business, is what they're saying. There's no more calls to be made. You can't get a hold of them. Health Canada has no more involvement. And it's simply now a diagnosis from your doctor, a prescription, going to the Health Canada website, downloading a form from one of several licensed producers that offer cannabis flower. There's no more filling out the 30 forms, sending it into the Health Canada, waiting 3 to 6 months. Some of us waited up to a year. I mean, it was like a lottery ticket. You had to wait to see if you were going to get accepted or you were going to get right to legal access cannabis. So there's no more doctors charging $300 to $500 for prescriptions. It's basically sending that form to one of your LPs, and basically overnight, you're gonna have access to legal cannabis medicine, but only flowers. And in the US, we have legal cannabis. We all know that, Colorado, Washington. But how many people knew that there was over 16 medical states in the United States too? So I mean, it's only a matter of time. The next generation is cannabis. It's the next gold, people, and it's why we're all here today. We don't have to mine it from the ground. We have to grow it from the earth. We all see the difference, right? Gold, something we wear as a commitment, as a ring. A lot of people have it. Or around their neck for love. But basically, throughout history, it's been worth so much. But what is its real value? It's up to just to look at, right? But cannabis, it has more value than any other mineral or plant on this earth. It's a fuel, it's a fiber, it's a food, hey, it's a medicine. And that medicine, we're just scratching the surface, really. We have no idea how things are gonna happen in the future. The future is cannabis, the future is now, and it is a billion-dollar industry that we're upon us here today. We're all here to learn this industry, about its potentials, and everybody's talking about the green currency, the green rush. I'll be here all day, guys. Come and see me at the Medtainer booth. I'll also be over at NextGen's booth. And I hope you really enjoy today's education on cannabis, industrial hemp, what we have to offer, and why you're all here today is to understand and learn this new industry. The billion-dollar industry, but like Harry said, it's actually a trillion-dollar industry, and it's only just beginning. We have a lovely lady coming up here next, Dr. Joy Davies, and she's been leading the platform here and the provincial and doing a lot of work with local municipalities and doing a lot of education to what is happening with the system and how people are able to use cannabis as a medicine. So it's really nice to actually welcome Ms. Joy Davies here. Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope to see you again soon.
Long rant? Oh, you got to come and do it on camera.
Today, I'll be speaking about the 6 million sick and dying Canadians.
There we go. Long rant? Here for you. I like your shirt, Katie. Cheech and Chong.
Well, are we back?
We are back.
We're back. Well, that was my speech, guys. And I just saw it for the first time, and yeah, hey.
There you go. Nice work, John.
You know, I actually wrote it, practiced it, changed it. I did all the proper steps in order to actually lead a proper speech to actually get my message across of basically what I say here every day when I'm around all my friends. So you guys hear me say the same stuff, but I'm basically about to say it on...
and that's in front of a room of like 500 people, 500 to 1,000. How many people bought tickets? 1,000 people or something, they said?
Oh, there was over 1,000 tickets sold, and their attendance was in the thousands. But, I mean, there was a lot more packed. I was first thing in the morning, and first thing in the morning, there's like 400 or 500 people in there. It was quite
room.
It was quite a big room, and of course, as the day progressed, it was just like people were piling in. There was actually like a row of people going in after the stock market closed at 1 o'clock. It was just amazing watching the people walk in. It was all like standing room for a while. It was a good event, and that's what happened for the rest of the day. It was cannabis education, alternative medicines. We talked about acupuncture. We got into cannabis law. We got into the grassroots of it and how we started here with Mark Richardson talking about exactly how industrial hemp first it's born here in Canada. And I mean, hey, it just keeps going, and I think we even did a upload today from Bubble Mountain's World on our beginning of going in there and sitting outside with Remo and Jason Wilcox.
Oh, I saw Remo there too.
And we all kind of gathered in the front and puffed down and went inside. So
I'm gonna play video here of another guy from the conference named Chris Perry.
Chris Perry
from Stockhouse. Now, he's a journalist.
Yeah.
And he watches the stock market stuff, I guess, and also the medical marijuana stock market stuff is kind of his specialty these days, I guess, and that's why he came to speak.
I
was interested in what he had to say now. I think a lot of people who watch this might be, I mean, and if a lot of diehard pot activists came to the conference, they might have been a little upset in some ways at some of the things that were said at this conference when it comes to the business side of it. And I think this guy might ruffle a few feathers.
What's that? Is he the guy that said he doesn't care about weed? He's just here to make money.
Yeah, no, he was the guy who said, you got to get rid of the pot leaves on everything and all that kind of stuff.
But we got to start showing the triclones and the real medicine, and I'll give you certain things with.
Yeah, he
there's
had a lot of
different
good stuff to
aspects. When we start changing the word from marijuana to cannabis, that's where the change is. Oh, marijuana.
I see the guy's point overall, and I think that the people who are trying to profit from it, they don't really care about the pot message.
Oh, they could care less. If they could use hardcore pesticides to make sure they would have no problems, they would.
But we'll see in the video. But he mentions a bunch of stuff saying
person-to-person basis.
There's this is the textiles industry. This is a whole bunch of different industries together. It's not just the pot industry. So I got to clean my bowl. Is what you said there?
And she said you gotta clean the bowl
or clean one.
Duchess is a dirty girl, Jeremiah.
So apparently Jeremiah needs a bowl cleaner. Someone has to clean his bowl.
I work in a vapor lounge, and all the staff clean bowls for a living, so it shouldn't really be that hard to get it done.
Wow. It seems like someone's got no.
See how I turn that one around on you?
I've had my pipes cleaned. They clean my pipes when I come here. What's wrong?
Beautiful.
Every time I come here, I get a clean pipe. I go home with a nice clean pipe.
Yeah.
So we're getting into the next video, right?
Yeah, we're going to throw this video on. So Chris Perry, Stockhouse, and then we'll come back and talk more about the Green Rush Conference and the Global Marijuana March.
March is coming up?
I'm taking a bong rip.
Bong ripping.
Yeah.
Without
the bowl, like hell you are.
Here's a joint.
My language.
I don't have a bowl. I have this nice
thank
little...
you, Hugo. Now we're looking for Chris Perry from Stockhouse. Chris, if you could come up, please. So many of you, of course, follow Chris on Stockhouse. He is the man in town here who has his finger on the pulse in the burgeoning medical marijuana industry vis-a-vis the stocks that trade on the Venture Exchange, the Canadian Stock Exchange, the TSX, etc. So Chris is going to give you his rundown on the industry. So please welcome from Stockhouse, Chris Perry.
There's a timer here for you, and you just cue that way. Great, thanks very much. Hey everybody, thanks for coming out at this early time in the morning for people who may or may not smoke marijuana. So I've been covering this sector for about almost as long as anybody, which would be about 3 months. And in that time, we've seen a lot of change. A lot of companies come and nearly go. We're likely to see a lot more companies either merge or disappear in the next coming year. So let's go from the start here. This is not the medical marijuana industry, if you believe the news releases that you see out there a lot. It's the exploration of opportunities in agriculture, biotech, finance, health, and mining. And please don't hold trade us while we figure out a change of business. So what is agritech mining? Well, in Canada, over the last 3 months, around 40 Canadian companies have jumped into the medical marijuana game, a lot of them being shell companies previously or grey market companies, that is those who were growing under the old system or even not under the old system. And a lot of mining companies who haven't done a lot of mining lately who have decided that maybe medical marijuana is a good way to continue drawing a CEO salary. As a result, about 300 or so brokers around town have been pushing through barbed wire fences, talking to biker clubs and trying to figure out how they can get a deal together that's not going to get their Chinese clients thrown in prison. And I've been quietly chronicling this chaos in the best way I can possibly do so at stockhouse.com. So this is how it all started out for me anyway. A press release for Satori Resources where they said they were getting into the, well, you can kind of read it yourself. They were getting into every business except mining while still being in mining. What they really wanted to do though, And they'd had this plan, I think, for about a year previous because they had a ticker symbol of BUD and a name that's based after a Nepalese strain of marijuana. Is they were long planning to get into the medical marijuana business, possibly because they have a mine in Flin Flon where there used to be marijuana grown in the mine shafts. But this announcement started my interest in the business and started them on a bit of a trajectory with their share price, which everybody else came along. Now it's this. Now this is the number of companies 3 months later who've decided to make the switch. Some of them were already in the business of making that switch beforehand, but a lot of them within a week or so had a business plan. And as you can understand, some of those business plans may not be so well thought out. So most of the weed converts have already won if all you're looking for is a way to move some paper. Not that these companies are in any way bad companies. These are actually 3 companies that I believe have a good business plan and have some management backing that might actually get them through the next 12 months. But they've had massive increases in share price based largely around them just being in this sector, but also maybe having a little bit to them. Other companies maybe have jumped up 100%, 200%, 500%. And this is why basically we're all here today. If it was just a quiet cottage industry that might make people's backs better, no one would really care that much. But with these sorts of share increases, you're finding even 20-year-olds are starting to invest in stocks for the first time. So is this all going to last? Not really. There will be an industry revolving around medical marijuana in this country, and people will be rich, but it won't be guys like this. It will more likely be guys like this. Not that I'm in the bag for dev or anything, but you know, guys who are actually CEOs, people who actually have management experience, and who see this less as an opportunity to play gangster and more as an opportunity to build a potential multinational corporation, are the places where I think you need to spend your money. And that's basically what I'm going to talk about today. I've been to talked to a lot of people who've been at conferences like the High Times conference recently, where there's a lot of people talking about how great marijuana is, and that's fine. I think we can all agree that there's probably a market for it. But how do you make money? Right now, this market is a bubble. Online on Twitter, if you do a little digging, you can find massive online buying groups revolving just around weed stocks, 18,000 strong in some instances. When they decide a stock must be bought, the stock goes up significantly. If you happen to be on part of that train ride, then great. If you're on the other end of it, then you can see your money disappear very quickly. There's a lot of first-time investors. We're noticing in Stockhouse a lot of people who aren't of the traditional high-risk, high-reward investment bracket are starting to get involved in this thing, mostly because they want to say, I own a weed company, not because they necessarily look at long-term fundamentals. So, how can we figure out how to make money off marijuana now? Let's go for a bit of a history lesson to the Prohibition days. As we know, Prohibition, from 1920 to 1933, the US outlawed alcohol, thinking that that would be the end of crime. In fact, some cities sold their prisons off for development land, thinking that with no alcohol, there would be no crime to fill them with. That didn't actually work out. A year after Prohibition started, alcohol use was actually up. So who's made money from the end of Prohibition? Not this guy. This is Al Capone. Guys like him may have ran nightclubs and places where you could drink, but they didn't make the big money. Big money was made by this guy. This is Joe Kennedy Sr., otherwise known as the father of President John F. Kennedy. And he made enough money out of the end of Prohibition to make that family basically royalty in the US for the next however long. Basically what he did was, seeing the end of Prohibition coming, he went to Europe, signed licensing deals with all of the big brands, Dewar's Whiskey, Gordon's Gin, and filled warehouses full of it, so that when Prohibition ended, with the general public having experienced 13 years of Al Capone rot gut, they were looking to pay a premium price for a premium product. These guys also made a fortune from the end of Prohibition, actually during Prohibition. What Anheuser-Busch were before Prohibition were one of many farms in the St. Louis area that had a brewery attached to them. When Prohibition came in, those farms disappeared, those breweries disappeared, and what Anheuser-Busch did was they turned their product into a health drink, which they sold in pharmacies. And they turned it into a breakfast product and cooking yeast. And when all of their competitors went out of business, they snapped them up for next to nothing. And then when Prohibition ended, they had supply chain, they had distribution, and they had one of the few brands that was ready to go. So how does this apply to weed? Weed growth is an agricultural sector play. It's not a fast track to riches. Right now, there's already an oversupply of weed in this country and in the US. There's no one I know has any trouble getting weed, legally or otherwise. Now, with a legal industry jumping on top of an illegal industry, then you have a situation that's commonly seen as not necessarily a great commodity issue. You have to think that people who've made their living for the last 30 years growing illegal weed aren't going to suddenly sell insurance. They're going to find another way to stay in the market, either by legitimizing or by just sticking around and selling it on street corners for cheaper than the legitimate side. But if I'm a Hells Angels biker, and I've been doing this for a while, it's pretty cheap to set up a basement suite with a couple of miles of alfoil and some hydroponic lights, and I can probably get someone to work it for me for free because I'm a thug. But if I'm going to go legal, I need a pharmaceutical grade setup. I need to spend a lot of money on security. I need to have government regulation. I need to figure out local bylaws. I need to pay my taxes. I need to pay specialized people that know how to do this stuff. And then there comes the situation of where do I sell it? I saw recently a press release from Ross Rebagliati, the infamous Canadian weed head from the 80s Olympics. And he said he had 12 growers ready to make 1,000 kilograms of weed every month, and that they were going to sell 12,000 kilograms of weed a month, and it was going to be great. Where the hell is he going to sell 12,000 kilograms of weed a month? Like, through what portal? Is he suddenly the Google of weed? Where do you take 12,000 kilograms of weed to? How do you store it? How do you transport it? Who's going to do it? How do you do a truckload of weed coming from Flin Flon to Toronto? Like, this is the stuff that nobody's really thinking about. They're just thinking, quick, get a license and then we'll print money. The companies that will really do well are the companies that have figured this out, the companies that are looking at vertical integration, the companies that are going to grow it because they can sell it, because they can process it into other products, because they have a market ready to go. And that's very few companies. So in other words, who's going to Starbucks up this industry? For mine, weed itself is at the highest point it's going to be for a long time. Weed is going to get cheaper because organized crime is not what we are doing here. There's no reason for a premium price on a product that is suddenly legal. And with companies setting up 800,000 square foot grow-ups, there's not going to be any shortage of base supply. In fact, I think there's going to be an oversupply the moment we start throwing things out the gate. You have to also remember that the customer base for this in Canada right now is not recreational, it's disability-based. So I don't know any people on disability who, A, are going to be able to negotiate their way around paying a premium price, and B, are going to do anything more than what they've already done, which is likely, if they can, grow it on the premises. Health Canada is looking after this industry, but they're not in any way seeking to shape the industry to make sure everyone's doing okay from it. That's not their mandate. Their mandate is to make sure that the guys who are selling don't have leathers on and the guys who are buying are doing so in a way that's taxable. So, which weed plays have potential? For mine, and do your own due diligence, because if anyone wants to sue me, they'll have a hard time getting anything. I'm a journalist. Vertical integration is key. So companies like Abatis and Creative Edge have figured out that they don't want to have one portion of this business. They want to have pieces of many portions of this business. Roll-up plays. Papua and Precious Metals, Dev's company, he said that he wants to go and get 80 dispensaries in the US out of the 800 that are out there and turn them into basically a franchise model to clean up the process so that you know what you're buying, you know what it's going to cost, and you're not being served by someone in a tie-dyed shirt. GW Pharma is engaged in a value-added play in the US where basically they're trying to cure cancer. There's not many industries where you can say we are actually curing cancer. That company's worth billions on the NASDAQ. The difference between them and most of the other companies here is they don't go around saying they're a weed company. They don't have a leafy logo. They're a biomed company. Retail players, Naturally Splendid is putting together products that they're going to distribute in stores, and you have to think that as long as it's not going to get anyone high, that they're going to be in Whole Foods, they're going to be in Safeway at some point. Bedrocan is a company that is the medical marijuana supplier to Europe, the exclusive medical marijuana supplier to Europe. One must expect that they have a little bit of knowledge and experience that, say, Terra Firma Resources doesn't have. Weed support industries is going to be a big deal. Why buy the drill when you can buy the mill? NextGen has got that covered right now. We're putting on this conference. They're also setting up a lab facility so that they can get a little piece of every gram that's sold by checking for quality control, for making sure that the companies are doing what they're supposed to do. And then there's branding plays. The sponsor of the show, Anexco's BC Chronic, is the first real BC weed branding play where they're looking to basically put their stamp of approval on a bunch of products and market the fact that this chronic is coming from BC, where there's a reputation for quality. The big thing, though, in figuring out whether you're going to make money long-term on your marijuana investment is legitimacy. And the first step towards legitimacy is to stop calling it a pot stock, to stop saying it's the medical marijuana industry. It's not the medical marijuana industry. It's agriculture, it's tech, it's health, it's retail, it's textiles if you're into hemp. A pizza chain store owner does not say that he's in the dairy business because he moves buckets full of cheese. He's in the food industry, he's in the restaurant industry, the hospitality industry. If you want to have legitimacy, if you want to be able to be invested in by large Chinese investors, you have to stop associating the company directly with marijuana, because that's just not the marketing plan anymore. Everyone likes to smoke it. Everyone likes to think that we're in an illicit business that's going to suddenly take off. But if you have a portal that allows people to be diagnosed by a doctor on Skype, that's a tech play. It may be marijuana related, but it's a tech play. And those legitimate sectors that are established are a lot easier for institutions to invest in than, hey, we're starting up a push for medical cocaine, And we have to stop it with the leafy green logos, because really, as an investor, I don't want to have that in my portfolio. I want to have a good, strong company that's making money in a sector that's on the rise. And I don't care if it's marijuana. I'm not into it because it's marijuana. I don't smoke. I smoked once in my life and I spent 4 hours staring at the hairs on my elbow. It's not a selling point for me. The other thing is the license situation is going to cause a real problem soon. Every company that's out there thinks it's going to get an MMPR license. Every company that's not here thinks it's going to get one. And if they do, it's going to be all hell to pay. Every corner of the market will be flooded with $1 a gram weed. Most companies are not going to get a license, even if they tell you they're on their way, even if they tell you they're going to do everything they need to do. If they do all get licenses, we're done for. And if they don't, most companies are going to crash. Of the 12 licensed companies so far, only one is public, only one is coming public, and the others are thinking about it. And even if you get a license, are you going to get zoning permission? I don't know about you, but you may get an option on a license in Abbotsford for a grower, but try dealing with Abbotsford City Council on any marijuana-related subject. You are not going to get permission to change zoning so that you can start growing weed. So what makes more sense for me, using a license, or if you get one, selling it to the highest bidder? I think that's what's going to end up happening, is that the licenses that do go out are going to be seen as licenses to print money. And those companies that don't get them are going to have to raise a lot of money to try and get into that game. So, in summation, this is a transformational industry. And to be honest, I've written this speech 9 times in the last 3 weeks because every time I think I've got it locked down, the industry changes overnight. And that's going to keep happening. If you're looking for a long bet, you've got to do what you do with mining, do what you do with tech. You stick to the fundamentals. You find people who've got a track record and know what they're doing and aren't going to take your money out to the back 40 and just burn it. Is management experienced? Are they just me-tooing it, or have they got a defined plan? Have they been around for a while? Is your stock being day traded by people? Is that why it's going up? Or is it legitimately going up because people who are smart investors think that it's a good play? So we're barely getting started. I'm going to be updating this stuff every day at Stockhouse. And if you need to get word out to investors, plug, go see the Stockhouse booth because that's what we do. Thank you very much.
You want to get on this panel today at 4:20? Yeah, all right. Just ask this gentleman onto the panel. He's got a lot of good points, but there's going to be a bit of a debate this afternoon.
Like so.
Okay, now we have Mr. Dr. Paul Hornby.
So, Chris Perry.
You are now officially.
All right. I'm trying to get rid of this thing back here, but I don't think it's going. There it is. There we go. So yeah, I was reading some of the chat. I got to agree with you guys about a lot of it. These guys, they want to rob the cultural aspects of cannabis out of it completely in a lot of ways. And we're hearing that. That's what you missed that one. You missed Chris Perry, I think.
Or replace one culture with another.
Right.
We'll legalize Judaism, but we're going to have the priests take it over, the Catholic priests.
Right.
You're allowed to be a Jew so long as you attend communion and get baptized and all the other good things.
Yes.
Yes.
Is he two or who's two?
He's two, yeah.
Two, okay.
1, 2, 1, 2.
1, 2.
Microphone check.
Are you sure he's two?
Testes. 1, 2, 3.
Are you sure he's two? Okay.
Are we rocking? Are we rolling?
Yeah,
Can we
so
rock
David,
this jam? We're rocking
I wanted
this
to
jam?
talk to you about the Global Marijuana March, of course.
The GMM.
I have some video of you speaking at the Global Marijuana March, actually.
We're
talking about the history and stuff of it. I'll play that after.
We're not the biggest march, but we are the smelliest march. My favorite chant.
Hopefully that's because of the weed.
Yeah. It's because of the weed. My favorite chant was, "Give him a toonie, he'll sell you a doobie."
That's a pretty good price, David.
We had the whole march. Yeah, the marchers were marching down the street advertising the fact that we had pot dealers dealing from the march.
Yes.
We're the only mobile marijuana market that I know of that can sell right on the street with a police escort.
Yeah,
Nobody else gets that.
No, that is pretty cool.
You end up settling for what you fight for, and you should fight for everything you deserve, or else you'll get less than you deserve.
That's true. Yep. You
Yeah.
might as well take everything you can while you can, too. And, I mean, everything that you deserve. That is...
Take what you can indicates that this is just a rare spot of freedom that's quickly going to be taken away from us.
Well, I think that it's not going to be taken away. We can take it now and we can protect it.
I think you get for what you settle for. So activists should set their sights high to what is reasonable rather than settle for anything less than reasonable.
But if the choice is, between...
But it never is. It never is. The limitations that others are trying to set on you can only succeed if you accept them.
We differed on things like Prop 19 and Initiative 502 in Washington.
I just
Prop
took,
19 in California.
I just took the 5 conditions of peace. Condition number 2 that Mark Emery said in Cannabis Canada issue number 1. I took those 5 conditions seriously. I thought we aren't going to accept any sort of unreasonable regulations on who can grow and who can deal on our community. And by not accepting, that doesn't mean accepting it for a while, maybe a generation or two, let our children or our grandchildren remove those unreasonable regulations later on. I meant we aren't going to ratify or promote or give the thumbs up to anything that only protects 1% of the dealers or 5% of the dealers.
Dave, would you take Washington back?
Would I take Washington back?
Would you reverse the Washington laws and
I have to look at the
time?
arrest. I have to look at the arrest stats. If the arrest stats go up, yeah, I'd take it back.
They haven't gone up though.
They haven't gone up?
No.
The DUI stats?
No, they haven't.
The grower busting stats.
I think there has
the
been
dealer busting stats. Have you got all those stats? Show me the stats.
There's a few stats out there.
Show me the stats, and I'll either endorse it if the arrests haven't gone up, or I'll say, hey, you were wrong. If
I'll see
you got to look at all the stats. You can't just look at the smoker stats, because the community of cannabis it's more than just pot smokers. Like Russ Belville in his articles, he writes about how we got to protect the smokers. What about the growers and dealers? Where whose pot is he smoking? Is he smoking his own pot? Then he's a grower. He should protect himself. If he's smoking someone else's pot, He shouldn't be throwing his supplier to the wolves. We have to protect all our growers and dealers. And right now, Washington State's done a really shitty job of protecting their growers and dealers. They got a few guys who are hooked up. They got connections. They got money. They got coin. They got pull. They're kind of rich, I think. Same with Harper's LPs. The rich dealers and rich growers, they're protected from legalization. But they've always been protected. They've got
Washington,
the lawyers.
I'll give you this. In Washington, they have fucked around the medical providers. With the dispensaries there have all been sort of, they've been threatening to close them down and all that stuff. So on that side of things, I think that does look bad.
And
but
with
still,
the lottery,
still the effect that it had. You say even if that's true and they do fuck the medical growers around for a little while, maybe they'll get it back, maybe they won't. But I'd still say the effect that the momentum of Washington and Colorado together legalizing, I think that's been unparalleled in this movement pretty much ever in modern times.
It's great because we have an excellent good version of legalization and an excellent terrible version of legalization.
You see the philosophy, though, Dave, just for a second, because I love arguing philosophy. You see the philosophy of taking some wins, taking some compromises to make some wins.
There is such a thing as a fatal compromise, though.
Right. Of
that's
course
when
there is.
the man offers you a deal that appears to be in your interest, but later on you find out you're fucked.
See, I like that better than being a complete purist and standing by your guns no matter what. You have to be
there's good compromises
strategic about
and
it.
really bad compromises.
Right.
The good
that's a
compromises
different argument.
are where you're making incremental steps
argument.
forward.
Yeah.
Look at the gay community. Did they accept,
I do all the time.
Did they accept decrim first, where instead of going to jail for sodomy, they got fines for sodomy?
Yes.
No, they didn't.
What? No, did they take
a little more complex
issue.
I think that
they
if
were
we
fighting
really
for
looked at it-
equality.
Well, did they?
They weren't fighting for less punishment.
David, is it now fair for gays everywhere? No.
No, but they never said punish us less. They always said,
I'm not so sure about that.
Don't punish us anymore.
Right. Show me the stats on that, David.
I have
Show me the
it's
stats.
in an article that was published by Cannabis Culture called Decrim.
I know.
Decrim.
It's called
Decrim Myths, Decrim Facts.
Yes.
And what I'm talking about, incrementalism that I agree with, is where you win some rights a bit at a time. The incrementalism that I don't agree with is throwing some of our community under the bus so that others can be free. I think let's talk about hemp ethanol or hemp paper for a second. You and I were both pot activists and hemp activists back in the 90s when hemp was legalized. Where's the hemp paper? Where can I go and buy a big ream of hemp paper for less than tree paper? You can't. I can't. You can't. Nobody can. You know why? Because we accepted over-regulation and we didn't fight for equality and what we should have fought for. And we're suffering from it. And this is something we're giving to our grandchildren or our great-grandchildren or our great-great-grandchildren to deal with instead because we passed the buck on. We can't do that with med pot and we can't do that with recreational pot or otherwise we're going to betray our community.
David, I just looked up the name of the article. The name of the article is Descriminalization, Decrim Myths, Decrim Facts. I can't
but
believe
if you Google Decrim Myths, Decrim Facts,
I can't believe I allowed that title.
Descrim.
That is not.
Descrim is the kind of decrim that
looking back
entrenches
that was 2009.
discrimination. That's 2009, and if you look there on the very first, there's
that would never
like
make a
11
pass
myths
now.
and facts or 13 myths and facts. Fact number 1. If you look, it looks at all the forms of decrim out there. The decriminalization of prostitution, the decriminalization of toplessness, the decriminalization of gay this and gay that. And the only form of decriminalization where punishments were lessened instead of eliminated were marijuana and witchcraft.
Yes.
And in witchcraft, they took 500 years to get from the death penalty to fines. Now you get fined for witchcraft.
Yeah.
I hadn't looked at that, but I'll bet you if you look there too, you didn't see a lessening of penalties. You saw an elimination of penalties because the civil rights movement and the anti-slave movement were both about equality and treating people equally, whether you're black or white. They weren't saying, well, slaves only deserve a couple of whips by the lash or maybe only kill them if they do a certain amount of running away, like 2 or 3 times. That's the kind of incrementalism that
right.
we should settle.
Oh, good talk, Dave.
Anyway.
Okay.
We can't compromise in the face of our Armageddon.
Weren't we talking
That's what
about?
Rorschach
Weren't we
said.
talking about the global marijuana march?
Okay, the global marijuana march. Right. We came, we saw, we smoked some grass, and I think the global marijuana march in Vancouver, it's very small, but it's very, very free in that we have dealers on it. So other groups out there. Apparently there was a global marijuana march in Argentina that had 150,000 people in it.
We're going to play a video from
It was
that.
the largest gathering of pot protesters in the history of the universe?
Yeah.
Whoa!
No, well-
They should have a few dealers in that crowd.
I don't know if it's the biggest.
They're not protesting. They don't have banners and
So,
signs.
David, now here's
They're not
where-
calling for reforms.
David, here's where I
Yeah.
dispute your stats on that one. There's a little something called Seattle Hemp Fest that gets together. It has 300,000 people at it.
300,000.
And that's a protestival.
Ah, yes.
So that
So
qualifies
Seattle
as
is
a
the
protest.
largest.
Seattle's the largest.
Seattle's the largest.
Yeah.
Well, in those large groups, they should, someone should ball up, man up, put on their big boy pants, and sell pot. And others should protect them with hug power. Because if you don't protect your dealers and growers... Well,
Now,
it doesn't, hug power doesn't work
Marius,
with 5 people.
can
But it
you-
might work with
Do you
300,000.
have the video of our Vancouver rally? So the Global Marijuana March Vancouver
I would love to
March.
see
That's the one.
the girls put on their
It's
big girl
only
panties,
a very short
ovary up, and
you
sell
can even just
pot out
play
in
it
the
right
open.
now
But we
while we're
need to
talking and
create
stuff.
the world that we're going to want to see in the future.
just-
we need
just
to
leave our
create it
mics on,
now
too.
and defend it.
And put that mic on. Put the video volume on as well.
Are we talking over there?
Yeah, we're talking over it. Yeah.
Okay, so there you see, no more rulers. That's the secret
Dave's doing the play-by-play.
subliminal message inside the pot movement, is that we're going to actually get rid of rulers when we get rid of marijuana prohibition. Not rulers as in a tool of measurement. Rulers as in those who dictate, control, and dictate. No, tyrants. You know, rulers. Rulers.
Rick the ruler?
Oh. You're Skylark. So yeah, here we are. It's raining, it's pouring, but we are not boring because we're selling weed along the parade route. You can see
Next year we have to work out some better chants in advance.
Okay, better chance in
Better
advance.
chance
Better
in
chance in
in
advance. Right.
I agree with that
We're
one.
here. We're high. Get
Yeah.
used to us. That's one of them.
Yeah.
We smoke pot.
Froze.
We smoke pot. That's another
fro-
one. So you do be. That's the
okay,
best
back
one.
it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's full dealer dignity. Hey, let's talk about the Green Rush for a sec.
Let's do that.
So, Industrial Hemp Council of Canada or whatever, that buddy, he went up
Yes.
there and he claimed that the farmers not being able to grow their own seeds or breed their own seeds and sell to other farmers, it's no big deal.
Well,
he said it really
right.
didn't drive up prices at all. Although the guy who was in his position before him said it did.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, so there's like
you
a
should have asked
conflict.
him about that.
Well,
Year 3 of a 5-year program to breed seeds for the Canadian market and produce seeds for Canadians. I just learned this recently. There's like a 5-year breeding program in Ontario to develop seeds for Canadian farmers to use from within Canada and to provide that. And they got, apparently in the next year or two, they're going to have those available and they'll be able to start using Canadian grown seeds in Canada. Dave.
So one Canadian will get rich instead of all farmers doing well. Farmers have to spend millions of dollars on seeds every year.
Yes.
It's easier to be a brain surgeon than a hemp seed breeder.
Well, because you have to have a 10-year apprenticeship.
You have to have a 10-year apprenticeship underneath another hemp seed breeder and a science degree.
Right.
In order to legally breed hemp.
Well, doesn't everybody have that?
No. And that's what's killing the hemp, industrial hemp economy in the cradle, and why we don't have hemp papers. We have all these over-regulations, all these red tape, all these rules.
Dave, what you asked the person was, why are the pot rules different than any other agricultural products?
Yeah, why should... Or no, what I did was, what can cannabis activists and hemp activists do to remove the red tape around the growing of industrial hemp? Because that's what we really want to do is,
Yeah.
why are we settling for this inequality?
Yes.
When carrot farmers can grow their own carrot seeds.
Exactly.
Tomato farmers can grow their own tomato seeds. They can breed them. They can sell them to others. They can supply them themselves.
Why is
so
pot
they don't have
different?
to spend money on seeds for the next year.
And when you asked that question, he said, well, to control the quality of them.
Right, but if you look at the quality, they have fuck-ups even with accredited breeders.
Right.
So
Use
accredited
the mic.
breeder programs don't prevent...
Microphone.
By quality, they mean THC levels.
By quality, they mean a bunch of characteristics, whatever you're setting out, so that you have a uniform crop next year and you get what you expect. But they have had fuck-ups with accredited breeders where you don't get what you expect to get. So the accredited breeding program doesn't prevent fuck-ups. Now, what I think is more important than having perfect seeds every year is farmers not having to shell out $3 million for seeds. $3 million is a down payment on an industrial hemp ethanol manufacturing plant. And that could give the farmers another venue, another way to make money off growing hemp.
Where does that $3 million number come from?
That is the amount of money that farmers, Canadian farmers, waste every year on buying seeds from the same dude every year rather than supplying themselves with seeds. Over $3 million, yes. Yes, it's in my article called Hemp Fuel of the Future. You can Google that and read for yourself. I interviewed that guy's predecessor.
Is that in Pot Shots? Where is that?
No, that was published on a blog spot because nobody was interested in publishing it.
Well, that was before my time, wasn't it?
That was before your time. It was
Yeah.
2007.
That's right.
So now all I'm saying for that guy is that we need to remove the rest of the red tape around industrial hemp so that it can compete fairly with cotton, timber, oil, and we can have hemp paper and fill our cars with hemp ethanol. Now, the other guy who showed up there, buddy from Tweed.
Yes. Oh, yes. I really
he
enjoyed this.
Claimed,
we have this video to play as well.
We have this video to play. I'm just going to say very shortly, very quickly. He claimed that he would be interested in exchanging an activist endorsement of his company for removing the punishments against his competition, against all the poor growers and poor dealers who can't afford the $200,000 Health Canada says it'll cost to meet the criteria they've set out for being an LP, which is mostly in security and accounting costs.
And then, so what did he say afterwards?
So I talked to him afterwards. He says, well, nobody likes to go to court. And I said, well, if you have another way of removing the punishments, I'm open to hearing that. And that's where we left it. So what I think we'll do is we'll set up a sort of offer.
Going to court.
Yeah, he says nobody likes taking this stuff to court.
The only reason we have any kind of medical marijuana program, the only reason he's got any kind of job is because people went to court and spent their own time and money fighting for this whole thing, right? So,
well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And I think you're more compelling than the Tweed guy.
I think we're going to have to... The Tweed guy's name is Bruce Linton.
Bruce Linton. I'm still leaving it open. If he has a better idea, we'll go with it. But if not, we should go to court, remove the punishment around the rest of the growers and the rest of the dealers, and we should channel the LP money into more pot activism.
Right.
So,
and next week on the front page of Cannabis Culture, we'll be publishing an article by Mr. David Malma-Levine about the licensed producers.
Excellent.
Barring any crazy re-edits or anything. I haven't actually read it yet, so.
Well, you'll be
After
proud
I
of me.
read it.
I'm the rabble rouser everyone expects me to be. Anyway, so stay tuned for Boycott Harper's MedPot Distributors coming soon at Cannabis Culture. Also, my response to Russ Bellevue's response to my response to his initial article.
Rush Belleville?
Rush Belleville?
Oh, is that what you're saying?
Rush Belleville. Yes.
It's Belleville.
Russ Belleville and his 5 myths that should be debunked.
Yes.
I debunked his debunking. He debunked my debunking of his debunking. And I took
Now
it
have-
one level further and
Right.
debunked his debunking of my debunking of his debunking.
Right. And so that one's coming soon as well.
That's coming as well.
We don't want to protest these LPers, they're doing some kind of good thing. We got to protest a law that is allowing us not to grow.
and we got to be able to protest.
Read my article.
I'm just talking.
Read my article and then
Let's read. Okay.
You can debunk
Oh, I'm not.
All right, David Mammal Levine, thank you for coming on the show as usual.
So what's
And great job at the Global Marijuana March, David. You made it all happen. We have some funny video of you
Thanks,
handing out
David.
joints to the crowd, or you and Neil. Bye, David. Yes, blow you kisses too.
Any thoughts on that?
The Russ and DML show. Yeah, they should
Right
get a
on,
show
Dave.
together,
That was
actually.
good.
That would be
Are we
fun.
even on the air, though? You always give me the mic when other things are happening.
No, we're on the air.
Oh, we're still on the air.
Yeah. So why don't we go ahead and play one of these videos now, Marius? Let's play the David at the Global Marijuana March video. I'm only going to play just a few minutes of it. We're not going to play the whole thing, but
Okay.
okay. Oh, the funny part is you don't actually have that. You don't have that one. That's on the hard drive, which is in my laptop case, which is over there. So you know what? Before we play that, let's play a different video. We'll play that video in a couple minutes or something because it's on the hard drive. Actually, I'll just give you the hard drive. Hold on a second. So, what's that? Hey, you're trying to take my microphone? No. So, Dana, the Global Marijuana March, what's the largest one you've ever been to in Vancouver before?
The largest global marijuana march?
Yeah, in Vancouver.
The last one was, I think, probably one of the biggest ones.
Because you always go to Toronto, right?
I normally go to Toronto, yeah, where it's a lot bigger.
Right. And did you see the footage from the Buenos Aires one this year?
I can pretend that I did. Yeah, it looked awesome. 150,000 people, I hear.
They didn't have one there.
Oh, what?
Just joking. Yes, it was 150,000.
No, yeah, oh, that one, right? Yeah, no, I knew that. No, yeah, they, whatever.
Oh, sneaky back there. You want another bong rip? I bet Dollar wants a bong rip.
What's the video called?
Yeah, it's filthy. The video is.
So why isn't weed
I think
legal
it's
down there if
GMM
they've got that many people coming out to their march?
David Mammal Levine.
How do they get that many people? Do we know like the story of that? Like, has it always been that big? I know they've had big ones
The
there
Toronto
before.
one?
No, the Buenos Aires, 150,000 people. Like, how many were there last year? Like, when did it get that big? Who's organizing this thing? What else are they doing down there? That's pretty impressive, right?
I tried to
mean,
read
that's,
about it, but it was all in Spanish.
What?
Oh.
No, I have video of it actually.
So they.
You can.
Well, it just I know they've done. I know I've read about other big ones down
Give
there.
me an
Like,
earpiece for the video, and you can say it in English for the English speakers. I'm just joking. That'd be too much. But
what do they do? Is it a march? Do they
flame
go through the
source? Do you
streets
have a
of
lighter over
March,
there,
right?
brother?
So they go through the streets, or do they go somewhere? Like
a torch?
What is the Buenos Aires?
Yeah, it's a
GMM
march.
like?
It's a march. There's the lighter over
They
there.
have, like,
Who's
dancers
got a
and
lighter?
music and-
There's one. Thanks, Dollar.
Lighters.
Nice.
It sounds like. Do they have dancers and music and cool stuff there at the Buenos Aires?
I think they do.
GMM.
They do. They have speakers and.
I want to. That's where I want to go next year.
Yeah. Well, that's
Forget
not a bad
Toronto.
idea.
I'll go down to Buenos Aires.
150,000 marching through the streets.
I bet it's
there.
not raining there either.
Probably not. No,
Probably not.
Actually, here, let me.
Yeah, I'll be your correspondent for next year's one. I
That
think
would
that's
be
a good
awesome,
plan.
Dana. I had some information about it here I was going to read, but it's disappeared on me now. Yeah, it sounds like they actually have their stuff together because the videos that were made of it are pretty professionally done.
But I
They
bet
look-
they're not. There's no booth selling weed there. I bet. Or maybe there is. People
There's
are
a lot
smoking.
of people
I bet.
smoking weed in the videos. Yeah, a lot
Yeah, I
of people
bet lots of
weed.
smoking. I
We're
would.
gonna play
But I bet
I
you
have a bit
booths,
of video from it.
Booths selling marijuana.
Nice.
We don't really do that at the GMM.
Secure.
I'm sure there was dealing going
Anybody
on.
else want a bong rip here, ladies? Bong rip? What about you, dog?
Oh, nice. Marijuana plants. I like that.
Vicky? Okay.
That's always good.
Yes. And then you're next.
It's just funny reading.
Some Magellan's
Advisory, we should
BC,
get
something.
You on to talk about your photos.
Yeah,
you were there
it's
shooting
pretty
the whole thing.
entertaining.
Stoner Advisory's photos, and my photos are in a gallery right now on the front page of Cannabis Culture magazine.
I feel like this show is just
websites.com.
deteriorating into stone rambling.
What? It's not though. We're ready to play the video.
I mean, it's
you were
taking
talking
off into the sky as stone
Dana,
rambling.
Weren't
I
you just
am.
talking?
I know. I'm the one.
All right. Okay.
Somebody gave me the mic. I don't know why. Now
Oh,
I'm just kind of good.
So in a second, after she takes this bong rip, we'll play the video.
Huh?
That does sound like stone rambling now.
Yeah.
Grab the microphone from that guy.
No way, man. You'll never get it back.
So now, Dana, here, let's talk. Can we? Oh
pulling an
no, I don't
elbow.
know. Maybe we should
About
talk about
your
that.
bird, your medicine
Can
for
we
your
talk
bird.
about that?
Yeah, if you want, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, but this little vial of oil here is destined for a mailbox. It's going to be sent over to Karina, my ex-girlfriend, and my bird, Fred, who has a tumor on him that's been removed twice from his tail. It's on a little gland right on his back where the wax is produced that he puts over his feathers. That's what birds do. They put wax over their feathers, clean them off. But they sometimes get a little tumorous growth on them. He's been to the vet twice to have it removed, and he keeps growing back, or it keeps growing back, and he keeps picking at it. So hopefully this little vial of oil, we're going to apply to it, and we're going to document it and see if that reverses the process.
That is from the Vancouver Cannabis Dispensary. We're online at cannabisdispensary.ca, and that's part of our pet line. We don't have a very extensive pet line. We have a couple of different products for pets. And that's a similar product we also carry for humans as well. But we put it into the plastic bottle because for your bird, you're applying it topically, but sometimes you want to apply it on their mouth. And the other one is a glass vial. You don't want that breaking in your dog's mouth when they're excitedly trying to get it or, trying to force it into them or something. So we have the plastic one for pets. So we've got a couple other pet things. And I think cannabis for pets is just one of those frontiers that is only beginning to be explored. But if you've got a sick pet, contact our dispensary, and maybe we can help out with some pet meds.
The Vancouver Dispensary Society. Will you pass me a little tiny bit more weed, John? Just a bit more. I'm gonna load one.
And that oil works topically or internally, but on your bird, you're just gonna put a little drop on there every hour or so, and
that's right.
Keep that tumor oily,
Luis
and it
is
should
out of
just
here.
go
Thanks,
away.
man. Peace, brother. We'll get you on the show soon. Stoner Advisory, come take this bong rip. Stoner Advisory to the front desk.
So I hope your little birdie's okay.
I hope Fred is okay as well. He is such a cutie. I've had him for 23 years. How long do they last for? They last for probably 30. They can live for a long time, into their 30s even. I saw one online, a cockatiel. He was pretty haggard looking, but he was 34 years old.
Wow.
I got Fred when I was 11, and I've had him the whole time. I haven't seen him for a while, though, because I broke up with Karina like 10 months ago now, I guess, or 8 months ago. And since that, I don't really talk about it much on the show or anything, but yeah, I broke up. We were together for 15 years, and of course, Fred has a relationship with her that, now for all the years that they spent time together and stuff, and I was away at work and everything, they fell in love with each other, so I wouldn't try and take them apart from each other. But I do miss my bird buddy, and I hope to see him soon.
Fred's such a sweet bird, too.
He is a sweet bird.
Well, hopefully the medicine works out for him, so he has a long and healthy, tumor-free life.
I think it's going to. I talked to Dory from the dispensary today about how she says they have a lot of success with those oils usually, and she says, please take pictures because usually this works and, they want to document it, so I'm hoping it's going to work. He had one before on his wing that was removed, and it just went away and never came back, but the one on his little gland on his butt is causing him some problems, so we'll see.
Well, it'll help all his little birdie aches and pains anyways, too, so that'll be good. Keep his feathers extra shiny.
Right. Bird ointment. All right, so did we play the Malmo Levine video yet? Let's play that video. Malmo Levine. This is DML giving a little intro at the GMM. We're only going to play like 5 minutes of it. Let's play 5 minutes.
Now, it's not really a narcotic, because a narcotic is something that's opiate-based and has a overdose potential, withdrawal symptoms, that sort of thing. Cannabis is more of a stimulant, relaxant, euphoric, time-slow device. And I have some of that stimulant, relaxant, time-slow device in this bag. And Neil, who did a lot of the gathering of the cannabis, is going to distribute the cannabis now. Make sure, just hand it. You don't have to. There's lots for everybody, so there's no stampede situation here. Make sure everybody must get stoned, make sure everybody has a joint in their hand. And if you've got a joint already, don't hide it and hand out your hand again, because, man, that's not cool, man. That's drug abuse. Let me tell you a little bit about the Global Marijuana March. The war on drugs is mostly a war on pot, and the war on drugs is happening all over the world, in every country on earth, including Uruguay, where you're not allowed to share your weed, and they have genetic markers to make sure you're only smoking legal weed and not illegal weed. And even in Colorado, unless you were one of the lucky ones to get a license, you're not a legal pot dealer. So there's still some people left to free, even in Colorado and Uruguay. Don't get me started on Washington State. No home growing. You can't drive with a couple of nanograms of weed in your bloodstream. And they've phased out medical marijuana. So if you had a medical grow garden, you're screwed now in Washington State. So let's not fight for just any old kind of legalization. Let's fight for the kind of legalization that frees every grower, every dealer, and every smoker on planet Earth. Everybody must be free, because they're all harmless, right? Show me our victims. Show me the bodies. Show me all the casualties of cannabis abuse. Where are they? Haven't met any, personally. I've seen a few on TV, but they look like just stupid people who don't know how to smoke pot properly, so they don't hurt themselves with it. I've had to quit marijuana on occasion. The 4 months I was thrown in Fraser Regional Correctional Center for flower crimes, I had to quit pot. I didn't want to owe anybody any favors for smoking their jail pot. Plus, I didn't know where their jail pot really was smuggled in from or where it was kept, if you catch my drift. Yeah! That's some stinky weed that I don't want to get associated with. So jail pot has a lot of downsides to it. So I stopped for 4 months. And guess what? No withdrawal symptoms. I just miss not being relaxed, hungry, and happy. That's all. You miss it. That's the only withdrawal symptom anybody ever notices, is you miss it. It's kind of like freedom. I went to Holland when I was 18, and I walked around and I saw people going into the cafes and out of the cafes, but no axe murderers. Nobody was falling down, stoned out of their minds, writhing in pain from the withdrawal symptoms. Nobody was smashing each other on their bicycles from being too high and impaired on cannabis. It looked like an orderly type society, and I said to myself, we could be as free as the Dutch. Here in Canada, we could have the intelligence and the maturity to handle legal marijuana sales in Canada. I'm certain of it. I'm certain of it. And so ever since then, I've been fighting to end this biggest, longest running war in the world. It's the biggest war in the world because it's a civil war in every country and every state on planet Earth. It's the longest running war in the world because you count the burning of witches for their herbal crimes, or the worshiping of the wrong gods for their herbal crimes. It has been going on almost forever. Little brief periods of sanity. For example, in the 1850s to about the 1940s, you could buy medical marijuana over the counter without a prescription, and there was no big marijuana-related problems of any kind whatsoever. IQs were not dropping, psychosis was not increasing, people weren't running around in the streets with axes, despite what Harry Anslinger was saying. There was no marijuana-related problems of any kind. And then these guys, these oil and drug companies, use their political influence to have marijuana made illegal so they can sell more synthetic fuels, more synthetic fibers, more synthetic drugs, just synthetic things in general, things you could monopolize. So that's what the real drug war is about. It's about a monopoly on the synthetic to outlaw the natural. And that's how they do it. And they make up all these bullshit reasons, the same way they made up bullshit reasons to burn witches or to burn Jews. It's a scapegoating kind of divide and conquer genocidal master plan that our evil ruler corporate overlords have for us. But we're not going to take it. We are fighting for our right to party and partying for our right to fight. We will not stop until everybody, even the 13-year-olds with 20 bucks in their pockets who really want to get high because their hormones are raging and they're tired of everybody putting their thumb on their neck and they'd like to live a little bit of their own life just for once, those kids should get high. Because really, the black market is a lot more dangerous to a teenager than cannabis ever could be. Cannabis, you're facing dry mouth, red eye, than cannabis ever could be. Cannabis, you're facing dry mouth, red eye,
getting rid of. That was the end of David there.
That was the end of David. And,
we should be back now, hopefully.
You know, now we're talking more, getting back.
But Marius isn't here, so hopefully, if the chat can't hear us, they'll let us know here. Chat,
they'll just
can you
say
hear
real
us?
quickly?
Can you hear us?
But you know what? When we were initially here talking about was the conference and what was happening there, and what we were talking, even what Dan was talking about, the legalization and what's happening with this whole industry, and then of course the industrial hemp side of this.
Did it freeze? No.
And
we can see ourselves, so looks good.
Yeah. I have a question. Did anybody talk about producing cannabinoids outdoors in a hemp field?
I think did that touch bases with Mark? I didn't get a chance to see his whole thing, and he touched bases on. I know. Well, I didn't get to see his talk, so hopefully we'll be able to play that here soon during this episode. I'm pretty sure we're gonna play that.
Yeah, we're gonna Bubbleman's for sure.
There you go.
And
but I know there was lots of talk with the industrial hemp end of it. I mean, Adriana Herman the day before the conference, we had 30 of us. We had a dinner, and we all gathered, and it was quite a really interesting evening. Mark talked about it. I mean, John Connor wasn't there, Kurt wasn't there yet, but I mean, a lot of people that were there who were speaking. Bruce wasn't there, but most of us were there. And I guess that first little introduction, what I thought was really interesting, we all got to meet and get to know one another, because I didn't have time to listen to people talk, and other people who were there didn't have to. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think these events that we do hold, I thought it was a great idea that Harry put together. He got us all together in one room the day before. And even like this Champs event, if they could put us all together in a dinner before the event, before all the vendors get together and do any kind of events, I think it's, and for me, it was quite an experience, you know. It was kind of cool on how we get to know, and then you got to the people's stories, like with Adriana Herman and the industrial hemp and stuff like that, with Mark Richardson and stuff, where he'll talk, where you hear with his whole industry, with this hemp industry and what's going on with it. And it's a legal industry that, I mean, it's just, the hemp, I guess, the licensing, there's a little bit more to it. I don't know too much about it. I don't know if you do, Dana, or not, or...
Well, yeah, the hemp licensing system. I mean, they've been growing hemp in Canada for quite a while now, almost 19 years, I think, right? It started around 95, 96, so...
Yeah.
And,
whoa.
And the big issues at the time were that they were going to be growing marijuana in the hemp fields, and that was repeated over and over again, and it's been a long time. That hasn't happened once, as far as I know, and as we know, that's actually like one of the worst places to try to grow marijuana is in the middle of a hemp field. But I'd like to see it opened up a lot more. I agree it's too restrictive. I think we're going to need to kickstart some of the seed industry is going okay, but to do fiber and fabric and especially fuel in that, you need more infrastructure, which isn't there. And that's going to either require some big private investors getting into it, or I think some government investment to help build the infrastructure that we need so that it can thrive. Because we have a lot of infrastructure for the petroleum industry, but we don't really have that stuff yet for a hemp kind of industry, and so it's we need more of that.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that industry that I think is upon us. I think we're starting to see more and more people looking at this industry, and that's what I saw at this conference too, was as these big guys that we're talking about to get involved, they're looking. They're like, you know what? Like, there's more to this, because we can grow this shit. We don't have to dig for it. It's running out all over the world. What are they going to turn into? The prices are getting too high. In reality, we can lower the prices of fuel, and this whole system can change because of hemp, 100%. And now, when I know they're testing the hemp fields here in Canada and stuff, they've been talking about it. They in like 2.6% CBD out of hemp, so they're actually learning they can actually start putting CBD more into hemp, extracting that CBD, using the hemp for actually other resources, but getting that medicine out of it. That might be another whole new industry. And that's what we're talking about right now. And I've been talking with a lot of these guys that are in Manitoba and stuff, and what they're doing. They're finding this, and I'm actually getting bags of CBD, and that's what I'm using for my medicine right now. Is I got CBD caps, and it's non-psychoactive. It's coming in. There's this. I know people are. It's that's what we got to look at, is these pure CBD caps, because CBD is really where it is what we're looking at, is the antipsychotic, antispasmodic, all that.
Should be allowed to grow high THC cannabis as well. Hemp farmers, ultimately, under proper legalization, it shouldn't be like a legal distinction. Hemp farmers shouldn't have to worry about the 0.3% THC levels or anything else. Like, it may take us a while to get to that point, but I believe that full legalization should mean like when a farmer can grow any variety of cannabis they want in their field, that I think is kind of the end of like legalization battle. You can't get much more legal than that. And when that happens, people will stop growing cannabis indoors. Like growing indoors is only an artifact of prohibition if it's because of the prohibition on growing outdoors. And that's one thing that kind of worries me about what we're seeing is that people are investing a lot of money, and it's good, and I'm not against people doing that, but they're investing a lot of money in growing cannabis indoors. And so they're then going to have an interest in like keeping it from being grown outdoors, maybe.
Right.
And so it depends on the person, and not everybody's always only motivated by finances and that. But I want to see. I think the indoor industry now is a good thing and how it's going, but ultimately it's got to move past that. And you can produce resin for so cheap outdoors.
I was going to say, I have been talking with a couple licensed producers that are doing some greenhouse outdoor in Toronto. That is happening with a couple of these LPs out in Ontario, and they're also going to be doing it, what I hear of, on some roofs of some of these other facilities that they've applied for that. So we're hoping to see that in the future, even with these LPs. But like you're saying, these hemp farmers, that's what it is. They should be able to grow what they want.
It'll take, because the system right now is they can only sell buds. And I know that all the LPs are going to be lobbying to be able to sell more. As long as you can only sell buds, yeah, you have to grow it indoors because you can't get perfectly manicured, awesome buds outdoors. But what you can get is a lot of resin. And if you're allowed to sell resin, which ultimately is the long-term future, there's always going to be a connoisseur market for those of us who like smoking joints. But the broad expansion of medical marijuana is not going to be about buds and stinky joints and all that stuff. It's going to be about resin. And you can produce resin in vast quantities very, very cheaply outdoors and tune it to whatever potency you want. And you can manipulate the cannabinoids back and forth a little bit too to turn even CBD into THC or the other way, to get the exact phytocannabinoids and all the other terpenoids and flavonoids and all that stuff in there.
Yeah.
And so when you can do that, that will eliminate 99% of all the home indoor cultivation and all these big grow ops and that. Those will only be for people who, the minority of people who really want perfect buds and want to smoke joints. But that's going to be
I want to clap my hands because that's exactly what we want. We want that resin. That's what we're looking for, and that's what we all love. I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about here. We're talking about being able to. It's going to be a while, but I think, Washington, you know what? They're really screwing things up by the sounds of it. Colorado's doing something good. Let's see what's going to happen here with Alaska and stuff like that.
Also, that might even in the long run be maybe even more important, that Colorado also legalized hemp production, and that's gotten way less coverage in the media because the marijuana is so sexy and exciting. But if they can really help open up that industry, I could see other states perhaps even legalizing hemp, like in Canada, before they legalize medical marijuana even, because hemp's sort of, as you move towards full legalization, hemp's like the most innocuous. So then medical marijuana is like sort of second, and then broad, adult marijuana use is kind of the third frontier. But yeah, so Colorado's legalization of hemp could be really, if they do it right, and so far they've been doing everything right. So.
Well, I do know that at the Green Rush conference, Marcus Richardson did a big talk on this, exactly what we're talking about right now. And, and I do know we were talking about playing that.
Marius, can you get the Bubble Man video up?
Marius is going to get this played up here. And this is, we can get into actually the reasons why hemp has started growing here in Canada. Because while sitting down, he's a good friend of mine, and talking with him and stuff like that, his involvement. And there's some guys here in town, John and Martin. There's a few of these guys that actually started paving the way and writing to the government, like, how are we going to do this, and wrote these applications, and kind of, we'll see what Morris is going to pull it up here, and it's quite cool.
Yeah, I thought this was a great speech by Bubble Man, because I hadn't actually really heard him give his whole bio and explain about, what the base, sort of how he got to where he is now, the fundamentals of his companies and all that stuff. So it's
his direction, his basically life, like all of us, and how we're so passionate about who we are, like Dana, myself, and like how you're getting involved with the industry. It is, and I think that's why there's such a good connection with a lot of us with this industry and with this plan, is because really, it's everybody's medicine. It's mine, it's yours, and there's a few of us, we do what we do because, hey, I'm not giving up.
No, we're all about to win. We're on the verge of winning. It's going to be a long battle. Even after the federal government repeals marijuana prohibition, we'll have a big party that day, but we're going to have to get back to work the next day because we're still going to be fighting with provincial governments, still fighting with city governments, still fighting with individuals and businesses that, you know, insist on drug testing people and insist on being prejudiced and discriminatory. It's not all going to end even with the change in federal law. Look at California, look at Colorado, where there's some cities and towns that are resisting it. We're not going to license those guys here. We're not going to allow that here. So there's always going to be battles at every level of government. I think it's going to it's going to continue on for quite a while. Once the federal law changes, that will make things a lot easier for us. But there's still going to be many years of battles after that. And I expect in Canada, when the federal law changes, probably some provinces will continue with prohibition and some won't to begin with. And then we're also going to see, even when a province allows it, they're going to do it in such a way that cities and towns have the ability. So the default's always going to be on being allowed to be prejudiced against marijuana people.
Right.
And then we're going to have to work through all that
Dry
stuff
counties.
as we go through. Yeah, exactly. There's going to be
education, exactly. You know what Dana's saying. This is just going to be a constant battle of trying to get it, and you know what? It's going to take years, but I do believe we're going to be getting to those places soon.
Well, and I think we're making some serious wins as it is. So if we keep pushing, we can only make more in that direction. I hope. I mean, if we use this momentum anyway. Marius, go ahead and throw this on. This is Mark Richardson, Bubble Man, at the the Green Rush
Financial conference.
Of gold.
I know
Green
there's
Rush
lots of talk
Financial
of gold. It's a Green Rush Financial Conference, and it's a.
It's like the gold rush.
It's a gold rush. It's the cannabis gold rush.
It's very similar in many ways. Okay, throw it on, Marius.
Sorry, Mark, I missed one.
Money.
Mark Richardson coming up. He's with Fresh Headies Limited, Bubble Bags, and it's Cannabis Overview, Medical, Recreational, and Industrial. A gentleman that we met last night, he's been in the industry 15 years. Come on and do it, sir. By the way, that could be yours.
I do have some photos. Is there a way I can click through them?
He's got them? Okay, I'll get them.
Is there a way to get the PowerPoint presentation photos up? The hemp? Yeah, oh, great. Awesome. All right. There's the little cue. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Good afternoon. My name is Mark Richardson. I'm a local businessman, owner of Fresh Headies and Bubble Bags, and a distributor for hemp hoodlum clothing here in Canada. I've been involved with cannabis fairly intimately for the last 25 years, actually, not 15. That's okay. And I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor. All of this has been through bioassay. A lot of my experiences have been learned through my experience with cannabis. It's nice to see everyone showing an interest in cannabis here in Canada. I'm going to be covering an overview of cannabis by talking a little bit about industrial cannabis, which is hemp, recreational cannabis use, and medical cannabis use. And I prefer to use the word cannabis over marijuana, mainly because the foundation of marijuana, it's a Spanish word, it's rooted in racism, it comes from the 30s, so I'll be referring to cannabis today, all of them, whether it's to be smoked recreational, to be used medicinally, or to be used industrially, I'll be referring to it as cannabis. It's one of my first pictures up on the screen, actually, is a cannabis stalk that's just been cut, and I photographed it with the macro, so you can actually see on the outside, the yellow is the fiber, and on the inside is the cellulose. So let me see where we got here. So I want to explain why I call it cannabis. A lot of people, and in fact, in the early days, some fibs were told in regards to hemp and cannabis, hemp and marijuana being separate plants. They're not. They're the same plant. Cannabis is in which specific breeding has been done to produce specific properties in a strain, like say high CBD, high cannabinoid profile, high THC. That's going to be a strain that is bred for medicinal purposes. You can take these same strains and you can breed them into industrial hemp strains. They're cannabis strains. You can breed them specifically for their fiber or for their cellulose content. Jace Calloway was actually breeding cannabis seeds with a higher oil content than any seed we've seen before in order for it to be able to take a freezing in Finland. So when the snow fell on top of these plants, normally the seeds would die. Because he bred it with an excess of oil, he was able to protect those seeds in an area that was non-friendly to growing hemp. So to give you a little bit of my background, I was involved originally with the group in Manitoba where we approached our government back in 1994 to grow hemp. And I'll give you the backstory on that. We were teenagers, basically, just out of our teen years. We were very young. I can only imagine how badly we were potentiating our stereotype of a cannabis user. And with that, we approached our ministers, two of them, our Minister of Agriculture as well as our Minister of Finance. And we read them a document, and on the cover of our document in 1994, it read, "The $1 trillion crop." Now, the reason we use the $1 trillion crop is because in 1938, in Popular Mechanics magazine, an article was released called "The $1 billion crop." Now, don't quote me exactly, but this was one of the first times billion and dollar had ever been used in an economic statement, and it was referring to hemp. You have to understand how unfathomable it would be to be a billionaire in the 30s. It was like saying a gazillion dollars today. And that was in 1938, and this was right before the war started and right before they started pumping the war efforts, and they needed a lot of hemp for those war efforts. So we approached him, we showed him these articles. Basically what happened was we convinced our Minister of Finance and Agriculture that this was something our province should be doing. And we got the first hemp license in in Manitoba in over 73 years. We grew the first hemp field there. And I'm happy to say that my partners are still involved there. You can buy Manitoba Harvest hemp seed foods in your grocery store thanks to the work that we did as near teenagers in the early 90s with even the people who were our support barely supported us. This is how new this was back in the 90s. So I'm sure many of you know that there are an excess of about 50,000 plus commercial products that you can make with hemp. Products that can be made from, you've got hempcrete. There's Henry Ford with his plastic hemp car. He's smashing it with a sledgehammer in that photo. It didn't dent. There's our hemp oil, extremely high in amino acids. It contains all 8 essential amino acids that your body needs but can't produce, including the 3 that children need. It actually has them, it contains them in the ratios that your body requires to break them down, which is a 3 to 1 GLNA to GLA. We've got from hempcrete, hemp plastics, hemp seed. That's a Manitoba hemp field right there. It's an old picture of us in front of our hemp store. Sorry, some of these pictures didn't work out as good. That's hempcrete. Even futuristic hemp metal. I held hemp metal in my hand in 1999. Stronger than titanium, lighter than aluminum. Carbonized hemp fibers. They're probably making spaceships out of it now. I haven't heard of it since, but it was a 9.8 on the hardness scale and it cut through glass. The only thing on the planet that could cut this metal was diamonds. These are the things that we can make with hemp once we start isolating. And when we use hemp, we've always isolated the one from the whole. If you want to access the fiber, you remove it from the plant. If you want to access the seed oil, you crush it out of the seed. If you want to use the cellulose on the inside of the plant, you extract it. It is always the one from the whole. You can see very, very specific when we grow it. When we grow for fiber, it's very tight and very tall. When you grow for seed oil, they're spread out a little bit more. They want the plants to grow bigger. And so basically, with the medical aspect, you only take the one from the whole. You grow for seed, you're wanting to produce high oil content, you plant extremely close, you want to grow for fiber. This forces the plant into a long cola. When we want to make paper, we separate the cellulose, okay? And although Canada's growing hemp right now for almost 20 years, we really seem to be locked into right now growing for seed oil and really selling it only as a health product in grocery stores. These oils can be used as biomass fuels if they weren't so expensive. And I'm really believing that the future of hemp will be a vast future once the actual infrastructure is put in place to bring hemp to the masses. We know it's tangible, renewable resource that won't leave a damaging footprint behind in its growing or manufacturing. And this is something very few manufacturers can say today. I'm not going to bore you with all the statistics of hemp, but there are many, and it's impressive when you start doing the research. If you check out Jack Herrera's book, The Emperor Wears No Clothes, this is literally the book we used to learn everything we needed to do to convince our ministers to allow us to grow hemp in Manitoba. So check that book out. And Yeah, that's hemp. So after starting the hemp growing company with my partners in Manitoba, I moved out to British Columbia in 1996, and I started helping a good friend of mine, Hillary Black, with the BC Compassion Club. And we were producing quality cannabis for their patients. It was definitely not legal. Back then, the only people who really used medicinal cannabis at the clubs were terminally ill people. A lot of these people over the years passed away in our relationships with them. It was very sad. So I started growing for the BC Compassion Club. The club was founded that year. It's been, they just celebrated their 17th year providing medical cannabis to our community, so we should give them a shout out for that. And then within a few years of really focused on growing cannabis and using cannabis and watching the medicinal effects of cannabis, it brought me really into the medical aspect of cannabis. I started my own company, Fresh Headies, which is a company I've run for the past 15 years, and we specialize in glandular trichome isolation. I'll try to get to a picture to give you a little bit of an idea. There's a glandular trichome right there. I took this photo myself. You have two types of trichomes here. A capitate stalked glandular trichome is the tall one, and then the smaller one is a capitate sessile. There are three types of trichomes. There's a third one called a bulbous, which looks exactly like these ones, but it doesn't have a stalk. It's just the head. Here's a picture of a cannabis plant that you can see is just covered in these medicinal aspects. And Kirk touched on it a little bit, as well as I'm sure Dr. Hornby did. All of the medicinal value that we seek, the cannabinoids, THC, the terpenes, the terpenoids, the modulators, they all are produced inside the glandular head of the trichome. So the actual medicine that we're talking about here today is inside those tiny little glands. So what my company does is we've got proprietary technology. We've learned about using water and ice to separate these glands from the rest of the plant matter. It's safe, it's efficient, there's no chemical exposure, there's no footprint left behind in a negative way, and you can extract these resins in a very pure form. So we've been educating people worldwide on how to isolate these medicinal glands from the non-medicinal plant matter, which of course, when the medicine is concentrated as opposed to diluted, you can get a much more powerful effect from it. And I'm not talking about euphoric feelings, i.e. getting high. I'm talking about shrinking cancer tumors and removing hundreds of seizures daily from children with Dravet syndrome. Okay, so in the last 5 years, we've learned an incredible amount about cannabis and its medicinal properties, something many of us have suspected for decades, but it was impossible to fight the billions of dollars in propaganda, not to mention the imprisonment of massive amounts of people, including doctors. Combine that with the Controlled Substance Acts from the 70s that made it illegal for anyone to even study. It made a fairly fatal blow to scientists who could have been studying this plant and its clear medicinal uses. Today we know that by consuming orally, in particular cannabis, that the medicine, i.e. THC, cannabinoids, terpenes, terpenoids, are all located in that glandular head of the capitate stalk, the capitate sessile, and the bulbous trichomes. And now when I first started learning this, I believed the active ingredients to be THC and THC alone. I had no idea where it was located on the plant, and it took me some years to realize and discover how to isolate the medicinals from the plant, much the same way we've been doing with hemp for fiber, cellulose, seed oil, etc. And that brought me to my macro photography so I could help educate people about what I was learning and, of course, help myself with my own education of glandular trichomes and crystals. And what I quickly learned was that those crystals are clearly the message, and the cannabis plant is the messenger. I personally look forward to the day when LPs can make and sell concentrates, as well as compassion clubs, and as well as personal production. To give you a quick education on the glandular trichome, I've shared a photo here, and you can see that the capitate stalk is non-glandular, it's non-active. Often it will be filled with a purple, I can't really go backwards on this, so it's only letting me go in one direction. It's all good. Sometimes a purple color will go up the stalk of the cannabis plant. That's an anthocyanin. It's an antioxidant. It's not used medicinally in the inhalation or the oral, but it is there. And so they want us to buy the diluted raw product and figure out the extracts ourselves right now with how it works in Canada. Could you imagine buying hemp paper and getting hemp stalks in the mail? Or wanting hemp seed oil and just getting like a huge bud that is full of seed, and you have to remove the seed and you have to crush the seed and you have to do all that work. Well, it's the same with the resin. I don't want people, I mean, it's basically akin to Health Canada making us order a pizza and then eat the box with the pizza. The plant matter itself has many properties throughout, but each one from the whole is how it works. The resin produces the cannabinoids that we have found to feed our endocannabinoid system. And I wanted to tell you guys just a little bit about the endocannabinoid system. I'm personally not a doctor, but I've been learning a lot from the doctors that I know and studying. And so the system, the endocannabinoid system, or the ECS, is a system that each and every one of you here today has, a system that helps regulate the biological functions in your body. Now, in the 90s, we discovered receptors in our brains called CB1, and later discovered a second receptor called CB2, which are found primarily in the immune system, the GI tract, liver, spleen, bones, heart and kidney, and peripheral nervous system. These discoveries of the cannabinoid receptors, endocannabinoids, and the related enzymes that make up what is now called the endocannabinoid system, and it seems to be essential in most of our physiological systems, and it is essential to life as it relates messages that affects how we eat, sleep, relax, forget, and protect. These receptors protect proteins include endocannabinoids, synthetic cannabinoids, and of course phytocannabinoids, which are the ones found in cannabis. And this leads me into my final discussion. I'm getting beeped here. I'm 16 seconds over. I hear a lot of people say, well, I support medical cannabis but not recreational. Well, let's take a look at that through the eyes of the endocannabinoid system. Now, obviously, smoking a lot of anything isn't going to be ideal, but vaporization and oral ingestion will feed your endocannabinoid system and offer preventative means of avoiding health problems later in life. I spoke recently with Dr. David Allen, who specializes in the endocannabinoid system, and he mentioned that if people could rid themselves of the ECS deficiencies, this could help avoid such things as old age diabetes, stroke, and heart disease. And his real focus is on the ability for the body to continue to produce insulin through endocannabinoid regulation. Deficiencies in this older age could cause old age diabetes, which can in turn cause diabetic complications. And we know that cannabis has never caused any harm, never killed a person, and in fact, this amazing medicine is one of the only plants, one of the only things people consume on this earth just for the euphoric side effects. And they have been for centuries. Now, it may sound ridiculous, but for me, this is how I started on my road to learning, and that I stand in front of you sharing through my relationship with cannabis. As a young person who was experimenting with experimental cannabis, I was able to learn and teach myself about this miraculous plant as I developed a relationship with it. Today, I'm a federal exempt cannabis user and grower, and can say that growing is an aspect of the plant, is part of the healing that it offers me. The gardening aspect of being able to produce my own medicine within my own space and breed my own strain is one I do not take for granted. I stand before you as supporter of licensed producers, personal production licenses, dispensaries, and all forms of cannabis trade and sale. Everyone should be allowed to grow this wonderful medicine. Thanks for your time.
Good job, man. Really good job. Another very bright young gentleman. Now we have Andrea, and she is with Andrea Herman with the Hemp Industries Association. She's a U.S. citizen, but she works here in Canada, and she spent her life at this. Very bright young woman.
About leading up to
Andrea.
that, what me and Dana were talking about, and what David was touching on and stuff, is all about industrial hemp and then what's changing and what's going on, and supporting the right for all of us to grow our own medicine at
Hello,
the same
everybody.
time, supporting the LPs.
Thank you so much for taking time and
those laws are what really needs
making
to
time
happen
to come and
right
hear
now.
my presentation. My name is
Prohibition
Andrea
done. We gotta
Herman.
start
I
looking
am
at being able to grow our own medicine, being able to buy it from a producer or maybe down the street from a buddy or whatever, but the options have to be there for the end consumer. Even with these pot vending machines and stuff, it's just a whole new industry. The world's changing. And like I said on the CTV News, you're going to see a whole new industry. All these big money guys that put money into stuff that they're mining for, it's running out. They got to place their money somewhere else. Well, it happens to be a plant that they have fucking been looking at for the last 100 years. What I always say is like a 100-year lie. They knew what they were leading up to. They had to reuse all these resources first to know that this was going to be the next resource and where we're going to be going for the future.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's going to be quite an industry, and I know you got tons of coverage from the Green Rush conference. I mean, it was an 8-hour conference, so.
Yeah. We recorded the whole thing. It's up for if you guys want to watch the whole entire conference, you can go right now actually to the front page of cannabisculture.com, and you can see the whole entire thing there. All however many hours we got the entire thing.
Yeah, it was
now,
a long conference.
It's
yeah.
a little difficult to see the slides on the slideshow. With some of the slides, you can see the videos better than the slides on most of the footage that we have. It's always like that with these damn slides. It's very hard to get a balance between the two, between the people speaking and the slides. Even when you go closer to the screen, it still just totally whites it out. So,
well, just have to hook up some kind of
well, if we had 2 cams, we could switch back and forth between the two. It takes a lot of work to pay attention for 8 hours and be switching back and forth between slide cams. But what we do have going on is a team was there recording. Now they're going to take the slides, the actual original slides, because even when you point your camera at the screen, you get a shitty version of it.
Yeah, you get that white background.
Yeah, it looks all fuzzy, and
look nice.
You get lines going through it and stuff. So this team that's there actually making the pro video is going to take the slideshows themselves and edit them into the videos.
That'd be really
they'll
good.
Be like the guy who was shooting it told me that it'll be a while before they actually are finished.
Oh yeah, I know. It was all done through. Harry, and then actually it was a friend of Mark Bubbleman's, and he was like, "No way!" And he's like, "Yeah." So I mean, it's all a great thing that we're gonna. Well, there'll be lots of this conference that people are able to view and better understand for the future. Of course, the next conference coming up here in Toronto, and hey, I'm gonna see if we can anticipate maybe get another one back here in Vancouver for the people that really want to know more about it. I think that might be a really good thing that people are talking about. Oh, I wish I could have gone there, and more people are more interested in getting more into the industrial hemp end of it, and we're taking a look at what we're going with the licensed producers and more education on getting to our governments to start changing these laws and really offering a wide variety of cannabis growing and community-based what's happening. The next generation, cannabis. That's it.
It is. Well, all right. So I think what we should do is we should bring up Corey. Corey to the front desk.
So thanks everybody, and as always, peace. Check us out on Bubbleman's World or my own channel, John Burfello.
And what about your photography? Tell them where your Instagram feed is.
Oh, 420 Weed Master.
420 Weed Master. Lots of great bud shots on there.
Oh yeah.
Some fatty bud shots.
So check out Puff Wednesdays, of course, always. Peace, guys.
Thanks, John.
Here you go, Corey. As always.
Corey's coming
Oh, she's got the hempsies. Look at, she's bringing us nutrition first.
Corey's got some cool.
Like really? Can I have some first? Okay, I got to get out of the way because I'll just keep talking. Here you go.
Give me the microphone then. Play hopscotch here.
Yeah. Thanks, Johnny B.
Yeah.
And thanks for the tokes. As always. Hells yeah.
Well, he was looking really awesome there at the convention.
Hi, Corey.
Well, hi, Jeremiah. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am hecka tired.
What'd you think of the Global Marijuana March this year?
It was awesome. It was really great to march through the streets and give that kind of message and stand up for just the fact that this is an amazing plant and it has so many medicinal uses. And it was just really empowering.
Yeah, it's cool. I really do like the Global Marijuana March in a way, sometimes more than the other rallies, because I really find it entertaining to be shouting at all the people that we walk by on chants and through the megaphone and all that stuff. That stuff's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's hilarious. And you don't really get to do that at the rallies as much, and people aren't really expecting us to come walking by. So you get a lot of faces that are like, oh
yeah.
I love how we stand in front of like the Starbucks and yell safer than Starbucks and things like that. Everybody's like paying a lot of attention because we're very loud.
Yes.
Yeah, and you were on your bicycle there.
I was.
It's a very, very cool bicycle.
Vintage. 78 was a really good year.
I see. So was 79.
Yeah, anyway, it's a good year. That's a good year too. So it's a beautiful Schwinn bike, and I decorated it up. Beautiful, poetically, like a metaphor, the wheelchair actually fell off the sign that said, "Without cannabis, I'm in a wheelchair."
Oh, it did?
Yeah, by the end of the sign, it was gone.
I took a photo of you on your bike, and you can go to the front page of cannabisculture.com to see our photo galleries of the Global Marijuana March. And in my gallery, there's a picture of you on your bicycle, and it has the sign, but it fell off later when you were riding?
It did.
That's crazy.
It did, so
there you
awesome.
go. Well, you don't need it, because that's...
there you go.
You're not
I've got the
repping it
last
anymore.
vestiges of the what I had written on my arms that said "Cannabis lets me walk."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, you had some cool stuff on. So
Yeah,
what do you
it's like a
got?
nice-
What do you got to show off to us today here?
Well, actually, I had brought the this paper here.
Oh yes.
And I didn't even get to point out the fact that it said Med Trainer.
Oh yeah, it says Med Trainer. That's hilarious.
Of course, people.
I'm John Burfello.
Yes,
Med Trainer.
some people need to be
But
trained in
what
how
do
to
you
use
got here?
it.
What is this stuff here?
Well, this was from. Let me see, the Nutritious. I'm trying to make sure I get the name of the company right.
Natira.
Shoot.
So this says Natira hemp protein blackberry pomegranate. And now this is a powder?
Yeah, there's a powder and then there's seeds.
And then this one is seeds. And then this one says maple flavored seeds.
Naturally Splendid
what?
Enterprises.
Maple flavored seeds? Can you eat them just straight up?
Yes, they're delicious right out of the bag. If you want to go ahead and crack those open,
Can
go
I
for
open
it.
one? I
Yeah,
wanna
go
try
for
these
it.
maple ones.
Yeah, I had the Himalayan salt crystal one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds good.
Did you have the stand?
What?
The mic stand?
Oh yeah.
I'm used to using that. I know the guys like to hold on to the mic, but.
No, go for it. Oh yeah. I love hemp seeds. I put them on my yogurt every morning.
Yeah, and those would be great because they're flavored. And then these are the natural ones.
Those are awesome. They're really mapley.
Yeah, good.
And pomegranate.
Yeah, and now these are actually protein powders. Hemp protein powder.
And hemp seeds are extremely good for you. One of the best things a human can eat.
So it's really wonderful to see such legitimizing of it and so much interest and how much traction it's getting. And one of the most amazing comments that I heard was that by this time next year, some of the companies in that room will be untouchable.
Right. What, because they're just so big, you mean?
Yeah, if you
Right.
really want to be involved with them or you want a piece of their stock, now is the time. Now is the time. So it's pretty amazing.
So are these. I really like those.
Let me check those out.
Try those. So we actually have a couple more videos from the Global Marijuana March. I just wanted to quickly kind of play in the background, Marius.
Oh, sure. Well, I do have
the
something
Buenos
really
Aires
important.
one. Did you see any of the Buenos
No.
Aires videos? Yeah.
No.
It was crazy. What were you gonna say?
Well, I have something really important to say. You might notice my weed shirt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm an
How
equal,
could I not notice?
I want you to know I'm an equal opportunity dispensary user.
Nice. You just wanted to flash the camera.
Don't you know it? Wanted to see what they'd say in chat.
That's funny. And hope, yeah, oh, there you go. I thought maybe you were going to pull the whole thing up. But, jeez. Damn right. Well, we'll do a little, we'll make a video later.
Promises.
Hilarious. So we have some Global Marijuana March Toronto video here. Now, this video was shot out the window of Vapor Central.
Nice.
So is it up right now on the screen? Yeah, it's up there.
Sweet. I actually have some bud from Al the Alchemist to smoke right now. It was really good stuff. We've been smoking on it since he left.
Cool.
Is it on
Yeah,
us?
Brady is sticking the camera out the window right now as you can see him fumbling with it.
I see.
And
Awesome.
their march didn't, from this footage, as I watch it, it didn't actually look as big this year as the last few years.
Oh yeah.
Because they usually have a really big one, like 10,000.
Weather.
Some years I think they've had like 40,000 or 30,000 at least. People, I don't know. That seems like a lot. That seems crazy to me,
But it's so
I don't
close
think I've
after
ever seen
420,
that
man.
many people actually. Them saying 40,000, I don't think that's true.
Really?
I don't really think so. I think there's probably been 10,000 people there actually. When I was there, that's about how it was.
Really? But it's
But,
just so close to 420. People are just barely coming out of the hangover from it.
Yeah, that's what it is, I think, is because as 420 gets bigger, GMM kind of reverse proportionally gets smaller or whatever. Yeah, they can see, down in the corner they're looking at they can see us too. So there's a bud in the corner. Yeah, quite the march there.
the weather it's difficult this year. I think we would have had much
there
bigger
was some
numbers.
rain too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, the funny thing is that is there no sound at all, Mario?
Sound.
Do you hear us? Do you hear us talking?
It's fine. That's probably wrong.
Oh, disgruntled viewer says no sound. People like that should get slapped.
Is it because we were being quiet for a second?
No. Disgruntled. No, I just wanted to make sure. But yeah, so you saw the big truck that was driving by that had Herb the big leaf on it. And that was Neve's truck. Now, Neve is one of the organizers of the Global Marijuana March. And I guess there was a kind of row between the Hash Mob crew and the Calm crew at this year's Global Marijuana March, where Matt Murnaugh, I guess, took hostage of one of the vehicles or something and stopped the march. And Neve and those guys wanted the march to continue going, and I guess the cops wanted the march to continue going. And so Amy Brown, Amy Anonymous, was delivering a message to Matt Murnaugh about the cops, and I guess Matt Murnaugh told her that she should do something that wasn't so nice. He said go suck a cop's dick.
Oh dear.
So that wasn't a very nice thing for Matt to say.
No.
But I guess this is an ongoing feud between these guys for a long time, and it's kind of sad. What I really want to see is Toronto working together on these marches in the future and not leaving anything to the last minute. So the cops know what the plan is beforehand, so they're not trying to stop. Like, I think there's nothing wrong with stopping the rally and taking a long time and doing the rally really slow. I think that's pretty awesome to
Absolutely,
do that.
that's what we were trying to do as
Hash
well.
Mob should be allowed to do that. And, I don't think necessarily that activists should be pressuring other activists based on cop orders to do things either. So I'm not really sure what happened. I don't know if that really happened. That's what's being claimed happened by, Matt and Chris and those guys.
Well,
but
the bigger those events grow, the harder it is to coordinate.
Yeah. And I don't think that, who knows, that very well could have happened. I know from dealing in the past with Neve and Gavin and those guys that they kind of want to do what the cops say, and they don't want to cause a big fuss. And every year we've been there and we're like, no, we want to cause a fuss. That's the whole fucking point of this thing. It's a damn protest. It's not a parade, it's a protest.
Exactly.
And so, there's been trouble over the last couple of years because the first year in 2012, Jody and I went out there and they wanted to change the time of the march. They wanted to march at noon and then end it by 2 o'clock and not come back to Queen's Park for 4:20 and have the big celebration there because the cops didn't want to. And so we were like, no, fuck that. And we said we don't really care what the cops say. We're gonna have our march at the same time, and we're just gonna come back and party in the park and fuck the cops if they don't like it. Sorry, that's what we're doing.
Yes.
And so Gabe and Gavin and Neve and those guys were all upset about it. But I had him on my show and basically convinced him while we were doing a live show at Vapor Central to change the date or change the time, and then we just basically changed the time the day of, and then so that year it went okay because we did change the time. But the next year they changed the date of the rally because they were trying to get a permit for Queen's Park. But, Marius, you can switch us back to our cam. Because, the rally, they basically all sort of bottleneck there for a while. Yeah. And we're going to be ending this pretty quick here too, Marius. So, are you...
You want to go to Argentina?
Yeah, maybe play just a little piece of that Argentina video in the background, just
That'd
so we
be
can
great.
see it. And you don't need to put the sound on for that, because it's all just Spanish speaking anyway, so I'm not sure how many of our viewers speak Spanish. Yeah, but you can see, I don't know if you can see the Argentina stuff there, Corey, but it looks like it was pretty packed at their march.
Heck yeah.
You can just let that play for a little bit. But I do, the Global Marijuana March, I think, is one of the more fun rallies. But it was cool to see South America doing this. I think that maybe they don't have the whole 420 thing growing as much down there. So their GMM's still their big thing. The Global Marijuana March, for the viewers who don't know about it, started in 1999. It was invented by an activist in New York named Dana Beal. New York had been having marijuana sit-ins and marches and rallies since at least 1967. And Dana Beal was involved with all of that stuff for a long time. So he eventually in 1999 said, well, let's make this thing global. They've been having their march there in New York, and so they made it global, and other activists all around the world sort of got together and did a march on that same day. Toronto kind of became the biggest one out of all of them, bigger than even New York. And then now it looks like Buenos Aires has taken the cake on this one.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Taking the infused brownie.
But I totally agree about the Protestival and Seattle Hemp Fest being just huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I was going to play here. Let's throw this on. I'll put in the background so we can actually see it.
Oh, yeah, that would be good so other people can see it, eh?
Yeah. You never hit screen. Oh, it's okay. That's okay. Yeah. There we go. But yeah, people see it. But yeah, and I don't know. I wonder about the future of the Global Marijuana March. Actually, like I wonder if the chatters, I guess, are saying they can speak Spanish.
Well,
That's too bad for them.
something that I wanted to try to contribute was a graphic, because I know that every time I saw literature about it at 420, I saw the word March, and I went, oh, that's already happened. So if there was a GMM logo that had the words in it, I think that it would be a little bit more productive and easier for people to see that the word March is something that we're doing, not the date.
Right, I see what you're saying. Yeah, well, and we really should hype it up more probably. But I wonder, I do kind of worry that maybe as 420 gets bigger, it just eclipses it completely because everybody's already sort of tapped out from that rally we just had, 2 weeks beforehand.
Bingo. So, I went, it's in how long?
Yeah,
and I have to make how many flowers to make this wild and free does not equal tax and regulate? What?
Well, I wonder if maybe sometime they'll actually merge the Global Marijuana March with 420. Find a way of marching at the end of the 420 rally or something. Nah, it seems like the logistics of that are a little difficult, but it might be cool. Or we could have a component where we march and then come back.
Yeah.
And then do our big party there.
Yeah.
That might be cool. A 420 march and then come all the way back.
I don't know. It's just growing so large. So when you're talking about going to the convention center with it?
Yeah, hopefully our...
Outside or inside?
Well, it would be outside.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, completely outside.
Yeah.
No, not inside the convention center.
Okay, that's what I was wondering about.
No, on the outside of the convention center, there's just the right kinds of grounds for us.
Oh, okay.
It was used during the Olympics, and it looks like it's just about the perfect spot for it for a whole bunch of different reasons.
Awesome.
So it's actually really exciting.
Excellent. Are you going to have different levels of donorship or anything like that, or donation?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah. Just like we always do, it'll be the same kind of stuff. Yeah, Marius?
Awesome.
Come back from Argentina? Or?
Yeah, you can come back to us now. Yeah, it looks like it's cool, though. Check it out. There's a lot of stuff going on there. It looked like a big rally. 150,000 people.
That's fantastic to see so much traction.
No, that's pretty awesome. Definitely. All right, so now that was the only other 2 rally videos we had. Did we play all our videos? The very last video we had to play that we're going to play right at the end of the show is the interview with Bruce Linton from Tweed. Now, Tweed is this new LP producer that has purchased...
And timestamp.
What's that? Oh, the timestamp. Yeah, timestamp.
It's a good video. It's just not very informative.
2?
2, yeah.
Episode 2, 34722.
34722.
Yeah. And so, now Bruce from Tweed, these guys are the big ones. Like, these are the government-friendly, the Canadian government, Health Canada really loves these Tweed guys.
Yeah.
As somebody said, Tweed equals greed. That was Dr. Clone in the chat. Yeah, and so, you can see from what these guys are talking about where their mind's at. I'm not necessarily criticizing them yet. I haven't seen their product, really. I haven't seen what they're going to be doing. I haven't seen the amount that they charge people for their product. I haven't seen if they're going to indeed give something back to our activism community or try and fight
I would like
the laws.
to see them do that because I'm not happy with them thinking that we were going to be a captive market. I'd say we, as in people who had authorizations to possess. I don't have one, but I'm helping on behalf of the coalition, trying to help fight for their gardens.
And they did say they went to the media, one of the things that they were using as a selling point of their product is the media says, well, why should people go to you instead of the black market? And they said, well, mandatory minimum sentences. Now, David Malma-Levine was in the audience during the Tweed video here during Bruce's speech, and David went up and asked, are you trying to move it so I'm not too loud? Is that what you're doing?
I'm trying to move it so you're louder.
Oh, so I'm louder. I see. Okay. Oh, I just, that's okay. You can just tell me to move it closer. But yeah, David was in the audience, and he actually brought that point up. He said, why did you guys use this as a selling point? Why are you using mandatory minimums as a selling point? And so he was kind of like, I think maybe a little embarrassed by that or something. But David also asked him about contributing to this, some sort of initiative that David's working on or something. And he said he'd be all over that. But then when they actually talked in private outside of the speakers and outside of the microphone.
Not so much.
Yeah, he wasn't as supportive. So I hope to have Bruce on the show here. And so David and I can talk to him in person about the whole
I'd
thing.
like to know this.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to do that. So hopefully they'll agree to do that. We're going to do an LP show. We'll definitely be having some of the LP guys on the show to talk about this stuff, because I'm kind of following where Dave is on this one in a lot of different ways. I think that I don't know if we should necessarily boycott them completely, especially the ones who are willing to work with us. I mean, if they are willing to do something. Yeah, there's people who need it.
People who need it.
And I have nothing, as long as the home grows and the other system isn't changing, I don't have as much of a problem with it. What I don't want to do, though, is I don't want to see these companies entrench their monopoly or get in there and become huge, and then nobody else can compete because they already have, cornered the market in every way possible. That doesn't seem fair. So right now, because the market is so split with this medical marijuana versus recreational, they're going to install all these artificial monopolies, and it's not really fair.
No, not at all. And I do appreciate the legitimizing. I'm so happy to see large-scale production. I think that is wonderful. But I don't want to see it on the backs of the poor and at the expense of people. It's not fair to hold them captive.
Yeah, and that's what they really are doing, especially if they take away the home grows.
Yeah.
Then they're putting a gun to these people's heads
Yes.
and saying, you're not allowed to go anywhere else
Bullshit.
but these licensed producers. That's bullshit. And, of course, these guys are money men. They want to make some cash. And, every time you have a corporation or a publicly traded company or something like this, their mandate is to make money, and that's the number one mandate. Legally, that's what they have to do. They have to protect their shareholders' cash as the bottom line.
No moral compass.
Right.
It is all about the money.
Right. So, but I mean that, sole proprietorships can be just as bad, but they can also be very good.
Yes.
At least they don't have this law behind them that says you have to protect the cash at all odds, no matter even if you're hurting people or what.
Yes. No, I understand. It's just
Maybe it doesn't say if you're hurting people.
Well,
but
that's the way of the world today.
Yeah.
We got to change that somehow. Otherwise, we're never going to get
should have you on
medical
camera, Marius.
marijuana out of that system
Yeah.
if everything else is like that.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, I think we should go ahead. Corey, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about before we go?
I'm going to be coming around with the coalition pins and also postcards with wonderful photography and some artwork to help support the coalition, and distributing the glass to different places that have requested it. And
where are you going to be coming around with these things? At the Cannabis Day event, you mean?
No, actually to different dispensaries.
Oh, to dispensaries here, sorry.
Yeah, dispensaries, even the head shops, grow shops, all different places that have showed interest already or may be able to support the
coalition,
the cause and the coalition.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, now, of course, you can find more info about the MMAR Coalition Against Repeal at MMARCoalitionAgainstRepeal.ca or com?
Com, I believe.
One of those ones. Just type in MMAR.
She says
Coalition
CA,
Against
so
Repeal.
let's believe
She said
her.
CA. Okay.
She knows.
Yeah, okay, all right. All right, and they've been doing some good stuff. John Conroy, they're doing the fight right now. That's to have people keep their home grows. So let's just hope that the patients get to keep their home grows. If not, it's going to be a very scary landscape out there.
Absolutely, and that's why I've been going out and videoing every one of these events that I can, and posting them on Facebook or on YouTube and on Facebook, so that people can see just what's happening and what's going on. Because documenting this is important from many different views.
And your video is up right now as well. People can find, where can they go on YouTube to find your videos?
There's actually a Trip C channel.
Yeah.
But also
YouTube.com/ Is it Trips?
Probably Trip C.
Okay.
But also, I put a link on your wall
Right.
to
On
the
my
playlist.
Facebook page?
Yeah, on your
Yeah.
Facebook page to the.
Yeah, and if you want to be
the-
Facebook friends with me, you can come and sign me up at facebook.com/jeremiah.vandermeer. So.
Oh, and you know what?
Be my friend.
My Facebook, it was wrong the last time that I told you guys what it was. It's trip.c.artwork.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
it's no
that's
longer
all.
my name. I had no idea.
Oh,
so
well, there you go.
when I put the Dr. Chronic Tonic labels out, I had to fact check. Thank God I fact checked.
Good thinking. Oh yeah, your labels were cool. I
Yeah.
like the Dr. Chronic Tonic. You brought that on the show last week.
Uh-huh.
wait, was
Or
that
a
last
couple
week?
weeks ago.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
I was busy making flowers for 8 hours when you were doing your show last week.
Flowers for hours.
Yes, 8 hours of flowers.
8 hours of flowers. Cool. All right, well, let's go ahead and play this last video, and that'll be the end of the show. We'll see you guys next Friday back again with another 3-hour, 1-hour episode. It's a 1-hour show. It just takes 3 hours to get through it. But yeah, and you can always find all kinds of great videos at pot.tv. Hours and hours and thousands more hours of marijuana video.
I had to give the thumb ups because I gave the thumbs down so many times, so I had to give the thumbs up for that.
There you go. There you go. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you guys soon. Marius, you can throw the video on anytime, brother.
After coming up here, we talked a lot. Well, you're from the Ottawa Valley indirectly. So am I. This gentleman changed Canadian history in this industry a couple of weeks ago with his team when they did the first $15 million bought deal with institutions. He also was the first company on the Toronto Venture Exchange. And we don't know each other yet, but what we share in common is a lake that we used to go to and an Ottawa Valley that his dad was from. And he's going to tell you about, this is Mr. Bruce Linton of Tweed Marijuana Inc.
Thank you. Thanks, Harry. In fact, I've enjoyed many of the presentations. I've sat through, I think, 5 or 6, and some terrific ones, really quite helpful to me. I apologize, however, I'm going to be of limited value today. And anybody who's watched Tweed knows that there's nothing I love more than a microphone. I don't know if you've ever seen anything from English language Al Jazeera, who we hosted, to the Lang O'Leary show. But we really do embrace the media, and the media have been very helpful to us. But the reason I can't be overly helpful today is that we were fortunate in that when we entered the market, we were well received, we were traded well, and quite quickly our underwriters moved to offer us a bought deal. And that's not a normal course thing for a company which is a venture listing to be offered a $15 million bought deal after trading for about 22 days. Because a bought deal says that there's an awful lot of institutional interest in what is happening, and they would like to put the stock into those hands. And when you do that, you have to file one of these, which is an inappropriately named short form prospectus. It's 27 pages plus attachments. And you file that on CEDAR, and we filed that on the 30th. And once you file that, you have to do what my lawyers have told me to do, which is not to be helpful in a public setting describing your company, which kills me. Because there's a lot I'd love to tell you. What I can do, though, is I'll walk through a couple slides, and anyone and everyone who would like to have a discussion or question, I'm going to go in the hall after and be happy to have a bunch of side conversations. I've had probably 10 folks approach and had great discussions up to now, and I'd love to do more of that. Well, the disclaimer, you've all read it thoroughly. I put the first page up. I told my lawyer I thought that if I was truthfully taking his advice, I would begin by reading a copy of this preliminary short form prospectus has been filed, but it would be the most boring presentation ever. So I just put a quick snap up. The company spent, I can give you one thing, we spent one evening named Can Remedy. We'd worked with an agency. They were a very good agency. They took quite a bit of our money in about 3 weeks and came back to us and said, your company should be called Can Remedy. Went to bed, woke up in the morning, said, I don't think we should be called Can Remedy. And so we spent another 4 weeks on becoming Tweed. And I only give you that in that we feel that we've gone quite slowly on many things, but we've tried to focus only on one thing at a time and try to do it reasonably well. And I give you the name Tweed in that a lot of people say, what's it mean? And the answer is, what would you like it to mean? Would it like to be therapeutic weed? Would you like it to be a nice textured British fabric. If we have discussions at the side, I think you'll find Tweed hasn't done very many things perfectly, but it's done a lot of things in fairly quick succession when you think that it was only June 19th when they issued the rules. And I don't know about you, but our biggest surprise upon reviewing them was the clause that said, please build one and then we can come inspect it. We were kind of caught off guard a little bit by that, where we thought the rules were going to say, please describe it, write it out clearly, we'll give you an A, B, or C. If you get an A, you have a license and you can go build one. So when you think June 19th to now, and we just shipped our first product earlier this week, there's been an awful lot going on. And so the name Tweed, we liked it because we thought it was reasonably memorable. I can say it was at least twice as expensive to acquire as had we just chosen the first name, but I think it's twice as good. From Tweed, there you go. So I can provide you the contacts. I wish I could tell you our story. I have at least 11 fantastic slides, but each one of them was nixed by the lawyer. So please, if you do have a question that isn't so open that I would be giving my presentation, ask away. Otherwise, I'd be more than happy to exit the back door and have dialogue with all. Now, I'm a little worried about this guy. I saw that other question. I agree with whatever the seed thing you were mad about, but...
My question is, in a recent interview, you or someone from your company mentioned mandatory minimums as a selling point of your company, why investors would want to invest, because your competition, your black market competition, might be facing mandatory minimums, years in jail for trying to undercut you. Do you see any ethical problems with endorsing a system that inflicts suffering on harmless people as a selling point to your company?
Now, when you present it that, when you present it that way, it certainly is. What we've tried to do is describe the rules that have been evolved without offering a view as to whether or not they're appropriate or suitable, but that we're trying to react to them. And so when people ask us what has occurred, is if someone thinks that the only thing that has changed is a former chocolate factory now produces marijuana, we do need to describe to them there were at least two other aspects of that huge omnibus legislation which related to the topic of medical marijuana. The other being the method of access, and the third being the method of enforcement. I'm the guy who goes to the 100-mile Green Party diet fundraiser, to the Liberal fundraiser, the Tory. I don't get involved in the decision process. I just try to make sure we follow it.
Would you be interested in maybe exchanging an activist endorsement of your company for a promise to invest in the removal of those mandatory minimums?
I would be all over that.
Okay, let's talk after.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I got a question. It's a laboratory question. How does it work in terms of analytical laboratories and what you have to do from growing to get it to the customer?
So it works slower than we expected is the first answer. So when the crop is harvested, in our case, we're still constructing our lab to be a certified tested lab on our premise, which means that we take a portion of the product, we send it first to a lab in New Brunswick, from Ottawa, Smiths Falls. They tell us how that product looks in terms of everything from active ingredients to undesirable contents. Then you go through the final drying process, you send another sample to New Brunswick. They take their time again and send back to us the result. If there's any requirement to deal anything with any levels of mold, mildew, you have to take secondary steps, retest again. So one of the things that we've put in a public release was that we wish to have the capital necessary to build the lab facility on our own premise, because this shuttling back and forth across the eastern portion of the country doesn't add to a very efficient time turnaround.
Now, the thing about that, though, can you, like in mining, you can have your own lab.
Yep.
But you still need a third party. Will you not always need a third party?
No, there's a methodology to actually have your own lab and have it certified and have technicians who operate it in a function that would be deemed, in a sense, controlled or arm's length.
So Health Canada would
and
say
it physically is in the back portion of our building, which is relatively closer than New Brunswick.
Well, that's good. So what you're saying is that a grower like yourself doesn't have to have a third party all the way through. It can eventually have its own.
Yeah, and you know, that speaks to an intent we have, which is a large scale. It is not free to answer the clipboard questions of Health Canada.
No.
There are a lot of questions. And so to have people suitably skilled to do that takes some overhead.
Do you see somewhere down the road, like I know they've done this in mining, we used to be able to do that, and all of a sudden, no, you have to have a third party, and you have to have a third party endorsement, and it has to be I almost think that
Well,
that's where they're going. Don't
I suspect somebody falling out of a helicopter in, was it Indonesia? Might somehow be related to.
He might not even been in that helicopter. They're making that movie now.
But I imagine until someone falls out of a helicopter in the Health Canada world, we'll probably be able to continue down a path that
But do you see a lot of changes there?
I don't know. I think one of the presentations, a couple of them reference where the evolution of what we can offer. Because as people can imagine, the fact that we have to take the stalk, leaf, and everything but the flower and process it through a machine that destroys it so that we can suitably have disposed of it so as to comply with the rules versus creating derivative products which have benefit and can be, these rules will evolve, we're quite certain. When and how, there are a number of views presented.
Yeah, good. Sorry, I've dominated. Who's next?
And then I did want to have some private questions if people have any.
Okay, how about one more question and you can have some private ones. Anybody else?
So I appreciate the audience. Come back next year. I promise the presentation won't be constrained.
There is one gentleman there. Because you have some time. That's all I'm doing this for.
Yep.
Could you just very quickly say exactly the product or service that your company sells? I have absolutely no idea.
Okay, sorry about that. So Tweed is licensed under the new regulations to plant, produce, ship dried marijuana products. And so we were, I believe, the 162nd company to submit our application. We were the 5th company to receive our license. Our initial license was issued to us in late November, which allowed us to plant the initial product. And the final attribute of that license was issued January 27th, which allowed us to then also sell the product. The company is based in Smiths Falls, Ontario, which is about 3 hours east of Toronto, 1 hour outside of Ottawa. And we operate out of a facility that's about 180,000 square feet, 168,000 square feet of area dedicated to production of marijuana.
Good.
In the most...
Yeah, in a great place. One last question.
What is the size of the Canadian market for medical marijuana?
I believe your comments, I can't, given where we are, give an estimate of size, what we're constrained on, but I thought that some of the views expressed earlier were very interesting, where the discussion was about the medical versus if there was another market and what happens to price and brand and the transition of value. But you know, there's so many views out there on how large it is in the medical field and how it changes value under legalization. I wouldn't want to speculate. And I'd love to speculate, actually, but I'm disallowed.
Okay. Bruce can answer some questions outside. Just follow him if you have any questions.
Did you have one there, sir?
Okay, sorry.
Really a follow-up on the question of mold and analytical labs. Given the recent issue with irradiation and the prospect that that implies there's some mold issues or other biological issues, would you consider publishing on your website the actual results from your internal testing or your external testing, rather than the public just reading in the newspaper that you've taken some action suggesting there's a problem?
It's a good idea. Yeah, it's a good idea, because one of the reasons people now don't believe it now that our stock's traded, but one of the reasons we initially listed is we thought that the value to this sector of being audited by a company like Deloitte and transparent was that it would make things more trustworthy and comfortable. And the reason we wanted to do that is very early on in the process we did a survey of who is the real influencer in the buying decision. Is it the actual patient or is it someone else? And it came back time and again through the methods we used that the, in fact, principal decision maker was likely the child of or the niece or nephew of the likely patient, at least in the first phase of the market. And their comfort with the openness of the business was very important. And so your point's probably a good one. It would be consistent with what we've wanted to do. I will say that the events unfold so quickly, sometimes we don't have time to think about who we are and how we present ourselves, and that might be more consistent.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good job, man. Thanks. Okay.